Welcome to Sunday Night with Old Time Radio, 1st of September, 2024. Tonight's episodes came to us quickly. We hope that you'll enjoy them. We begin with Cary Grant, who reprises his role as Mr. Blandings. This is with the Screen Directors Playhouse. We follow with Father Knows Best. Then the Hallmark Hall of Fame. Discussed is the foundation of the ASPCA. We have Boston Blackie, Star of the Nile, and a new series from England, just 3 parts, called Never the Bride. And we close with Part 3 of Russia House. Let's get started.
Waiter.
Yes, sir?
I'll have some cold salmon, some potato salad, and a cold bottle of Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yes, sir. Finest beer served anywhere.
From Hollywood, Pabst Blue Ribbon. Finest beer served anywhere. Proudly present... Screen Directors Playhouse. Production, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Director, H.C. Potter. Star, Cary Grant. The Hollywood Screen Directors present a blueprint for laughter. Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Starring Cary Grant. And introducing the director of the film, H.C. Potter. The directing of motion pictures can ordinarily be expected to satisfy anyone's urge for creative achievement. But not our guest screen director tonight. For he's also the director of such significant Broadway plays as Abel Floridano and Anne of 1,000 Days. On the screen, he's brought you such fine entertainment as Mr. Lucky, The Farmer's Daughter, and tonight's story, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. H.C. Potter.
Thank you. People laugh at most comedies because something funny happens to the characters. But in the case of Mr. Blandings, they laugh because the joke was on them. As millions of Mr. Blandings saw themselves discovering the ferocious fact that homes are built, not born. Now, Mr. Blandings builds his dream house for the first time on the air, starring Cary Grant in his original role of Jim, with Frances Robinson as Muriel.
Man was once a carefree fellow who swung happily through the jungle trees, every man his own Tarzan. But then he wanted to get out of the trees and into caves. Then he yearned to get out of the caves into a house. He's still yearning. This is the story of Jim Blandings, New York apartment dweller, who yearned to get out of his cave. Tall, good-looking, college graduate, advertising business, VP in charge of the Wham Ham account. Has 2 fine daughters and 1 lovely, intelligent wife named Muriel. I'm Muriel. Every morning in our apartment, we fought for firsts, with the bathroom the big bonanza. Started first thing in the morning. I'd open one eye, and there would be Jim nuzzling the furniture like a strange dog. Looking for something, dear?
My socks.
Why don't you look in your sock drawer?
That's where I found my underwear.
Try your underwear drawer.
I am in my underwear drawer.
Well, what did you find?
Your underwear.
Then the Great American Bathroom Derby. And there goes Jim Blandings, an odds-on favorite. He's at the door. He opens it.
Father, I wish you'd knock.
That was Betsy, age 10. Joan has a different scream.
Mom, you just might wear a dressing gown.
conditions being what they were in our apartment, Jim would shave while I brush my teeth.
Oh, Muriel.
Sorry, did you cut yourself?
I cut myself every morning. I kind of look forward to it.
Bill Cole uses an electric razor and...
Bill Cole does not have my beard.
Bill's beard is just as tough and stubborn...
I am not interested in discussing the grain and texture of Bill Cole's hair follicles before I have my orange juice, please.
And so forth. Until one morning, Jim saw an ad in the paper.
Bill. Forced to sell. Farm dwelling. Original beams. Oak Grove. Trout stream. Meadows. Superb view. Will sacrifice.
So?
Spend $6,000-$7,000. We can have a home of our own. A dream house.
Oh, Jim. Do you really think we could?
Doesn't cost anything to look.
Well, there she stands, folks. The old Hackett place. Finest old house in Connecticut.
My, it's just charming.
Dear, we're just looking.
First year she was here, General Gates stopped right there to water his horses. Yes, sir. If you act fast, you can get that place for a steal. And I mean a steal.
Tell me, Smith, what are you hoping to get for that broken-down old relic?
Well, we're asking $10,000.
$10,000?
He's asking. How much will you take?
$10,000.
Well, that's more like it. We'll take it. Good morning, Gussie. Good morning, children.
Good morning, Mr. Blanding.
Good morning, Father.
Morning, Muriel.
Morning, dear.
I'll go get your wham and eggs now, Mr. Blanding.
Well, girls, did your mother tell you about our new home?
Yes.
Well?
Our teacher, Miss Stillwagon, says the current craze for modernizing old farmhouses is a form of totem worship.
Oh, Miss Stellwagen does, huh?
I was just thinking, Jim. $10,000 was more than you wanted to pay for a place.
It was a steal, Muriel. It was larceny.
Shouldn't we see a lawyer? Bill Cole would have...
For once in my life, I want to make a decision without Bill Cole.
Well, he's your lawyer.
Only because he was your old college beau. Now, I don't want Bill Cole puttering with this. That's final. No Bill Cole. Well, there's our house, Bill. What do you think?
What's that?
Just a few shingles.
Oh, it's a nice old house, Bill. It just needs someone to love it. That's all.
It's a good thing there are two of you, one to love it and one to hold it up. What'd your engineer say when he checked the foundation in that roof?
Who needs engineers? This isn't a train.
I just saw it move.
Now, look here, Bill. It so happens that General Gates stopped at this very house to water his horses.
I don't care if General Grant stopped in for a cold beer. You're getting rooked.
Jim, you don't think we've made a mistake?
Oh, now listen to me, both of you. I've gone out and found what I'm not ashamed to call my dream house. It's like a beautiful painting. You buy it with your heart, not with your head, because it's beautiful and you love it. And when I sign those papers Saturday, I can look the world in the face and say it's mine. My house, my home, my 50 acres.
Our house, our home, our 50 acres.
Well, all right. You better let me have Joe Apollonio look the house over for you.
Who?
He's the man who advised the government not to raise the Normandy.
Oh,
They didn't listen to him and wasted $5 million.
Bill, you have my word. If I were raising the Normandy, I wouldn't make a move without Joe Apollonio.
Okay, Jim. Muriel, a kiss goodbye for an old college chum, and I'll be on my way.
I'm going to look around inside again. Coming along, Muriel?
Jim, the porch floor. Oh, dear.
Well, don't just stand there. Get me out of this hole.
Bill?
Hey!
I guess you'd better get in touch with Joe Apollonio.
Any small changes in this house, Mr. Apollonio, would have to conform with the character of the countryside.
Uh-huh.
And still be functional.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mr. Apollonio, what's your professional opinion?
Tear it down.
Tear it down?
Tear it down. Get yourself an architect and build a new house.
Get an architect?
Build a new house.
We certainly will not get an architect.
Build a new house.
The idea.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, 4 experts later, we got ourselves an architect and had the old house torn down and began to discuss plans for a brand new house.
And lots of closet space, Mr. Sims. If there's one thing this family needs, it's closet space.
Closet space.
And bedrooms, Mr. Sims. 4 big, roomy, airy bedrooms.
4 bedrooms, Mr. Blandings?
And each bedroom to have at least 1 bathroom.
With your limited budget, couldn't you do with 1 less bathroom?
Well, of course.
Absolutely not.
It'll save $1,300.
I refuse to endanger the health of my children in a house with less than 4 bathrooms.
Muriel, for $1,300, they can live in a house with 3 bathrooms and rough it. Now, Mr. Sims, we'd like a terrace off the study and a 3-car garage and, of course, a bar. We must have a bar.
Of course. What else?
Just one thing. Keep the cost down to $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, you've done it again.
Done what?
What's wrong, Bill?
Did that idiot Sims let you tear down your house without consulting me?
What if he did? What of it?
Wasn't anyone aware of the legality involved?
What did I do? What did I do? Tell me.
Didn't you realize that you're dealing with Ephraim Hackett?
Will you tell me what crime I've committed?
Jim, what in the world did you do?
I don't know. He won't tell me.
You merely tore down a house on which Hackett held a $6,000 mortgage, which now becomes fully payable upon demand, and Mr. Hackett does so demand.
Where'll we get it?
Oh, well, I suppose I could turn in my insurance policies.
No, Jim. Not yet. No, rather than see you do that, I'll be glad to sign a note for that amount.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, forget it. Well, kiss goodbye for an old college chum, Muriel, old chum?
Huh?
Goodbye, Bill.
Hey!
So long, Jim.
Bye.
What a wonderful friend.
What's with this kissing all of a sudden? Lately, every time he leaves this apartment, he shakes hands with me and kisses you.
Would you prefer it the other way around?
Well, I don't like it, that's all. Why doesn't he get married or something?
Because he can't find another girl as sweet and pretty and wholesome as I am. Oh, darling, it isn't Bill. It's the house you're upset about.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It isn't too late to change our minds about the house, Jim.
Muriel, so far, our $10,000 house has cost us $24,698.45. Oh, but there's one thing you've got to admit.
What?
We've got the prettiest vacant lot in the state of Connecticut.
You are listening to Screen Director's Playhouse, starring Cary Grant in Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, and introduced by the director of the film, Mr. H.C. Potter. You are in Detroit. It's quitting time. You, hot and tired from the day's work, push out through the factory gates. Right now, you'd give your wilted shirt for a cool breeze. What's that sign across the street in the cafe window? Oh, brother, Pabst Blue Ribbon, finest beer served. Anywhere. Yes, during these hot July days, you're just one of millions of men all over America to whom that Pabst Blue Ribbon sign means welcome relief. For Pabst Blue Ribbon does something more than quench your thirst. It gives you taste. Blue Ribbon taste. The kind of taste you can't get anywhere else in the world except in that Pabst Blue Ribbon bottle. And fortunately, you can get that Blue Ribbon bottle all over the world. Yes, you hear it everywhere. In Detroit and Dayton and Dallas and Davenport. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Finest beer served. Anywhere. Your taste will tell you why. Now, back to our Screen Directors Playhouse production of Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, starring Cary Grant.
They cleared the ground for the house. They began digging. They struck solid rock. They had to blast it.
Blast it?
It was now $27,000. And down at the office, Jim's deadline for the new slogan for Wham was getting nearer.
Mary.
Yes, sir.
How about this? When you want a snack of ham, why not take a whack at Wham?
You want a professional opinion?
Never mind.
The highly touted trout stream dried up. We had to dig a well. At $4 1/2 a foot, Jim thought he ought to have a word with Mr. Tassander, digger of wells.
Mr. Tassander! Oh, Mr. Tassander!
Yep.
How's it coming?
Oh, it's coming.
No, I mean, Mr. Tassander!
Yep.
I meant... oh. How far down are you?
Oh, about 190 feet.
Well, isn't that pretty deep?
Yep.
Have you hit anything at all?
Hit some nice limestone yesterday.
Limestone?
Yep.
Oh, swell. Nothing on a hot day like a nice cold glass of limestone. Oh, nothing. Go right ahead. I'll just slink back to my office and rob the petty cash.
And then, wonderful to relate, we had our well at last. In fact, we had two wells. One in the yard and another in our basement, 6 feet down.
Now, how do you explain it, Mr. Tassander? The men hit good water in my basement at 6 feet. And over there, just 25 yards away, you had to go down 227 feet to hit the same water.
Yep.
Well, how do you account for it?
Well, way it seems to me, over here the water's down around 6 feet. And over there, it's down around 227 feet.
Yep.
There you are, Mr. Blanding, your favorite breakfast dish.
Gussie.
Not Wham again.
I love it. I hate it.
Gussie, I spend 8 long hours a day selling this stuff. I know all about its succulent goodness, its sugar-cured tenderness, its vitamin-drenched gazebo.
Oh, you don't have to sell me, Mr. Blanding. I like it. Beef and lamb don't raid with wham.
Night and day under the hide of me, Wham.
Dear, Bill's driving me out to the house again today.
Every time I turn around, Bill's driving you out to the house.
He's only being helpful.
I thought he was a lawyer. Why isn't he out suing somebody? Who's there? Hello? Oh, good morning, Bill.
Oh, give him my love.
Wait a minute. What? Oh, that's outrageous. Just what does the owner of this apartment mean I've got to move in 30 days?
Oh, fine.
No. I know my rights. I have no intention of moving in 30 days. No. Well, how can I move into a house without doors and windows? This is not legal, and I want you to fight it. I don't care if it takes every penny I've got. I am not moving. Right. Yeah. All right.
Well?
We're moving in 30 days.
We moved in 30 days into a house with no doors, no windows, and no carpets. We walked around in our overcoats, and at no time did General Eisenhower drive up to share a cup of hot toddy with us. Instead, the green-eyed monster showed up, that old devil Jealousy, because Jim, while unpacking, came across Bill Cole's fraternity pin and my college diary. He didn't say anything until just before we went to bed.
I merely asked a question. What is Bill Cole's fraternity pin doing in your jewel box? Especially after you told me you gave it back to him 15 years ago.
Jim Blandings, I think you're jealous.
Yeah, and his name all over your diary.
Oh, now you've been reading my diary.
Well, it just happened to fall open.
I'll just bet.
If you were so crazy about the guy, why did you marry me?
I'm beginning to wonder. Maybe it was those big cow eyes of yours. Or that ridiculous hole in your chin. Maybe I just happened to fall in love with you. Don't ask me why.
Muriel, I'm sorry. Sometimes I act like a schoolboy. Forgive me.
Oh, Jim.
Oh, why do I love you so much? Kiss?
Darling, it's awfully late. Maybe better go down and lock the doors.
Well, what for? The windows are all out anyway.
We better get to bed.
Yeah. Do you think the mattress will hold on these 4 chairs?
Certainly.
Good night, dear.
Good night.
Good evening, Danton and Bascom Advertising. Oh, yes, Mrs. Blandings, he's right here. It's your wife, boss.
Yes, Muriel? Yes, it's raining here, too. Well, no, I'm sorry, dear. I can't make it for dinner. I'm going to be here all night with this slogan. What? Bill is coming to dinner. Bill. Oh, all right, Muriel. I've got to get back to work. Bye, Muriel. Bill.
Boss, how's this for a slogan? East is east and west is west. Ham is ham, but wham is best. Sorry.
Wait a minute. How's this? If you'd buy better ham, you'd better buy wham.
That's Boyle Petroleum. You better buy oil, you better buy Boyle.
Yeah, confound those monopolies. Wait a minute. I've got it. Win with wham. The ham that came from behind. Oh, no.
Brother.
Well, by 5 o'clock in the morning, Jim gave up in disgust and started out for the house. Jim, dear.
Morning, Muriel.
Oh, you must be exhausted. How'd it go?
Oh, fine.
Oh, Muriel, I can't seem to find Jim's other slipper. Oh, hello, Jim.
Morning, Bill. What brings you... What are you doing in my pajamas and dressing gown?
Well, how would I look without them?
Bill dropped in and had to stay all night when the bridge was washed out.
Yeah, slept like a rock.
Rock. Slept like.
Good morning, folks. Sure hope it wasn't as bad here last night as it was in Lansdale.
Gussie wasn't here last night?
Lansdale.
Saw the girls at the Williamses. They'll be along for breakfast any minute.
The children weren't here last night either?
Visiting the Williamses.
Williamses?
If you'll excuse me, I'll slip into something more comfortable.
Williamses?
Now, Jim, you're upset. You've a lot of things on your mind, and...
There's only one thing on my mind. This house and how to get rid of it.
That's not what you're thinking.
Well, maybe I'm thinking I was once a happy man. I didn't have a closet, and I didn't have 3 bathrooms, but I did have my sanity, a few dollars in the bank, 2 children who loved me, and a wife I could trust.
That's a fine thing to say.
I also had a job, something I don't have at the moment.
Jim.
I'm resigning, and I blame this house for everything.
You love this house.
I hate it. Anybody who builds a house today is crazy. The minute you start, you're on the all-American sucker list. Everywhere you turn, there's a hand in your pocket. Take out the hand, they find more pockets. I tell you, it's a conspiracy against every man and woman who want a home of their own, against every boy and girl who were ever in love, against...
Excuse me, Mr. Blandings.
Now, what do you want, Mr. Tisander? We've got our well.
There's a matter of $12.86.
$12.86. Why be a piker, Mr. Tisander? Take everything I've got. Here, take my watch, my keys, my pocket money, my driver's license, my wallet. Take it all.
Mr. Blandings, you don't understand. This $12.86, you don't owe me. I owe you.
Huh?
I found an overcharged jar in the well. Almost 3 feet.
3 feet?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Tisander.
Well, guess I better be getting along. Sure got a mighty pretty place here. Now, you folks take good care of it. Goodbye.
Wonderful man, Tisander.
Come and get it, folks. Orange juice, scrambled eggs, and you know what.
Ham.
Not ham, wham. If you ain't eating wham, you ain't eating ham.
Wait, what did she say?
If you ain't eating wham,
You ain't eating ham. Darling, that's it, the slogan. Give Gussie a $10 raise.
Oh, Jim.
Oh, Muriel.
Oh, and darling, you didn't mean what you said. You do love our house, don't you?
Oh, Muriel, I don't know. If I had it to do all over again, if I had to put up with tearing it down and architects and well diggers and builders and contractors and bathrooms, if I had to mortgage my future, my job, my peace of mind, just to wind up with a house, a simple $45,000 house, if I had it to do all over again,
Yes.
I guess I'd do it.
In a moment, our star, Cary Grant, and screen director H.C. Potter will return to the microphone. In spite of the glamour and publicity surrounding Hollywood, you'll find that most of the movie stars lead a quiet home life, just like you and me. When they entertain, more often than not, they'll serve a simple but delicious buffet supper. A baked wham, perhaps, with potato salad, toasted English muffins, and cold bottles of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Yes, everything in perfect taste. Blue Ribbon taste. And it's that Blue Ribbon taste that makes this internationally famous beer so popular here in Hollywood. For instance, I happen to know that Pabst Blue Ribbon is served in the home of Mr. Blandings, who is standing right here beside me. Mr. Blandings, of course, is none other than Cary Grant. Cary, it's true, isn't it? You serve Pabst Blue Ribbon in your home?
James, when beer is called for, it's Pabst Blue Ribbon. Well, I think it's time that Director Hank Potter and I revealed the truth about the real Mr. Blandings, huh?
Oh, you mean the fellow who actually built the house?
Ah, it's a sad story, isn't it, Hank?
Poor Mr. Blandings. The inevitable finally caught up with him.
Mm-hmm. His house was finished.
He bought his furniture.
He planted his lawn.
The dream house was complete.
And then they came.
The little men in white coats.
Yeah, they took him away, Jimmy.
Daffy?
Leaky faucets. Well, good night, Hank. Good night, Hank. Good night, Jim. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right. And good night to you, Cary Grant and H.C. Potter. Just to remind you that tomorrow is the beginning of the long and glorious 4th of July weekend. 3 whole days of relaxation. You'll be planning picnics and backyard barbecues. Be sure you have plenty of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer cooling in your refrigerator. It's the delightful way to celebrate the 4th with friends and neighbors and Pabst Blue Ribbon. Finest beer served anywhere. Your taste will tell you why. Next week on Screen Directors Playhouse, Pabst Blue Ribbon presents The Big Clock, starring Ray Milland and Maureen O'Sullivan. Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House was presented through the courtesy of RKO Pictures, producers of The Big Steal, starring Robert Mitchum, Jane Greer, and William Bendix. Cary Grant is starring with Ann Sheridan in the soon-to-be-released 20th Century Fox production, I Was a Male War Bride. H.C. Potter is preparing the MGM production, Europa and the Bull, starring Greer Garson. Included in tonight's cast were Frances Robinson as Muriel, with Ann Whitfield, Don Bender, Fred Howard, Willard Waterman, Frank Gersel, Wilms Herbert, Herb Butterfield, Betty Moran, Ruby Dandridge, and Dan Riss. Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, based on Eric Hodgins' novel, was adapted for radio by Milton Geiger, and original music was composed and conducted by Henry Russell. Production was under the supervision of Howard Wiley, associate producer Bill Karn. Listen again next week when Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer presents
Screen Directors Playhouse. Production, The Big Clock. Director, John Farrell. Stars, Ray Milland, Maureen O'Sullivan.
Screen Directors Playhouse is brought to you by the Pabst Brewing Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Newark, New Jersey, and Peoria, Illinois, and sent your way with the best wishes of the Pabst Blue Ribbon dealers from coast to coast. James Wallington speaking.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And this is the proof. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Judge Abraham Fuller of Newton, Massachusetts, was so fanatically opposed to debts that when a physician was called to write out his death certificate, the doctor found his fee in the dead man's clenched fist. Believe it or not. In a moment, I'll tell you about an unusual railway. Cable cars in San Francisco have added charm and transportation for many years. Equally unusual is the Cliff Railway near Lynmouth, England. It has 900 feet of rails bolted to the solid rock of a cliff, and its two cars are operated with water. Water flows into the tank of the car at the top, and as it starts down, it pulls up the other car, which has been lightened by draining its water tank. Believe it or not.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And this is the proof. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Colonel Peter Jefferson, who was the father of President Thomas Jefferson, could simultaneously upend two hogsheads of tobacco, each weighing 1,000 pounds. Believe it or not. In a moment, I'll tell you about one of the strangest robberies in all history. In Lucerne, Switzerland, a grave robber in the mausoleum of General Ludwig Pfeiffer's wife got the scare of his lifetime. The general's wife, who had been interred in the mausoleum the night before, suddenly sat up in her coffin and screamed at him. The lady was still very much alive. Madame Pfeiffer, clad only in a shroud, walked all the way home and lived another 20 years. But she never smiled again. Believe it or not.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And this is the proof. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
The Death's Head Moth was first seen in Blinkenwood, England on January 30th, 1649, on the very day King Charles I of England was beheaded. Believe it or not. In a moment, I'll tell you the unusual story of the only people who never get fat. Here's a way to make sure you stay on your diet. Take a lesson from the natives of the Nuba tribe in Africa. They cut small portholes as the only entrance to their huts. By doing this, they keep their families very figure-conscious. Any member of the family who does not eat sparingly eventually will not fit through the small opening, and therefore is automatically barred from the house. Believe it or not.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And this is the proof. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
There was a shoe worn by the ancient Egyptians with the outline of an enemy on its sole, so that the wearer could stamp on his enemy with each step he took. Believe it or not. In a moment, I'll tell you the story of a very remarkable man. Billy Marshall, a tinker of Kirkcudbright, Scotland, was truly a most remarkable man. In his earlier years, he enlisted in the Army and the Navy 10 times. Each time he enlisted, he deserted without ever being caught. He outlived 17 wives, and he became the father of 4 children after he was 100 years of age. He finally died in the year 1792 at the age of 120 years. Believe it or not.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Mother, is Maxwell House the best coffee in the whole world?
Well, your father says so, and your father knows best.
Yes, it's Father Knows Best, transcribed in Hollywood, starring Robert Young as father. A half-hour visit with your neighbors, the Andersons. Brought to you by Maxwell House, the coffee that's bought and enjoyed by more people than any other brand of coffee at any price. Maxwell House, always good to the last drop. This is the time of year, I think, when most people become restless. The weather's bad, summer vacations are a long way off. It's one of those times when you wish you could just get away from it all for a while. Spend a weekend in the country and relax. Well, before you get any such ideas, let's stop off in Springfield at the White Frame House on Maple Street and see how the Andersons were affected one fine Friday by a notion just like that. Like this.
Mother, if you'd only speak to Father about it.
I'm sorry, Betty, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Gee whiz.
All right, Kathy, stop playing with your cereal and drink your milk.
Well, it isn't as though we wanted something stupendous. Creeper's Janie Liggett's father takes them all the time.
I know, dear, but the Liggetts have more money than we do.
Joe Phillips' father isn't any richer than we are, and they've been away twice.
Everybody can have fun but us. All we ever do is stay home and drink milk.
Well, of course, there's another way of doing it. If it's so terribly important, why don't you ask your father?
You mean me?
I mean all of you. All he can do is say no.
Mother's absolutely right. As soon as Father comes down, we'll have Bud ask him.
Oh, good.
Why do I have to ask him? It was your idea.
That's right. Leave all the dirty work to me. You always do anyway.
Now, Betty, if Bud doesn't want to do it...
He never wants to do anything.
Is that so?
Yes, that's so.
I do more around here than you and Kathy put together.
Oh, you do not.
I do, too.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Father.
Who carries the garbage out? I do. Who takes care of the ashes? I do.
Good morning, Bud.
I work harder than any kid in this neighborhood, and you know it.
Bud.
When there's grass, I have to cut it. Leaves, I have to rake them. Sidewalks, I have to sweep them.
Bud.
Every time it snows, who gets handed a shovel? Me. Every time someone has to go to the store, who gets called? Me.
Bud.
Anytime that there's a...
Bud.
Yes, Dad?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dad.
That's better. Now, as soon as your mother hands me my coffee...
There you are, dear.
Thank you. You may tell me the reason for that impassioned recitation of sterling, if highly questionable, accomplishment.
Huh?
What's the beef, Bud?
Well, Betty said that I ought to ask you, and I just said I wouldn't.
In a few million well-chosen words.
Well, gosh, why should I? It was her idea in the first place.
What was?
What we were talking about.
What were you talking about?
Betty's idea.
Let's start all over again from the beginning. Good morning, Bud.
Good morning.
Beautiful day, isn't it?
Jim, dear.
Just a moment, Margaret. I'm trying to sneak up on this thing.
What thing, dear?
Margaret, please, one at a time. All right, Bud. Betty had an idea, and you don't see why you should, because when it snows, you have to run errands with a shovel. Then what?
Is that what I said?
I'll get your cereal, dear.
Thank you.
Father.
Yes, Betty?
Father, we were thinking... Well, that is, we all thought... Well, what I mean is, it'd be just as good for you.
It would?
Oh, of course. And you'd probably have a much better time than anybody.
Where?
What?
Where would I have this wonderful time?
Where we were talking about.
I see. Good morning, Bud.
Good morning, Dad.
Beautiful day, isn't it?
Jim?
Margaret, if you'll just have a little patience, please. I got a lot closer that time.
Well, gee whiz, if somebody doesn't ask him, I'll be late for school.
Would it ease the situation if I said no without anybody asking me?
Holy
cow.
Well, I was just trying to help.
You are, dear. Nice hot cereal.
Smells wonderful. Cream and sugar, Bud, please.
Okay, Dad.
Thank you.
Father.
Daddy.
Dad.
Yes?
We were just wondering...
Do you suppose it'd be all right?
Just this one.
If we all went away...
To the mountains?
For the weekend?
Is that the question?
Yes.
No. Tastes good, too.
Gee whiz.
You see, kids, it wasn't hard at all, was it? All you have to do is speak right up.
But you said no.
That's right.
Holy cow. Joe Phillips didn't even want to go to the mountains, and his father took him.
Good.
The Liggets go practically every weekend, and they have a wonderful time.
Fine.
Everybody goes except us. And we don't ever get to go anyplace.
You know, it's a funny thing. We've got a comfortable home, warm, clean, practically bulging with modern conveniences, but is anybody satisfied? No. You'd rather spend the weekend shivering in some flea trap in the woods.
But, Father, it's fun.
Sure. Why this sudden passion for the mountains? What's the matter with Springfield?
Oh, gosh, we want to get out in the snow.
What do you think that is in the backyard? Confetti?
We mean lots of snow, Father.
Millions of bushels of snow.
Okay, I'll talk to Ed Davis and see if we can borrow some of theirs.
Father, I've got a brand new ski suit, and I've never even worn it.
And what good are my skates?
And what good is a sled without hills? And they don't have any big hills in Springfield. They keep all the hills in the mountains.
Look, kids, you don't think I like to say no, do you? It's just that, well, we can't afford it.
It doesn't cost very much, Father. Really, it doesn't.
Betty knows a place near Crestline where you can rent a cabin for practically nothing.
And it doesn't even have water in it. So look at the money we'd save on soap.
Margaret, will you explain to them?
It's right on the edge of a lake, Father.
And you can even rent an ice boat.
And the hills are 800 miles long.
Why is it that I always have to be the villain? Everybody seems to think I stay awake nights trying to figure out ways to make my family miserable.
Oh, you know we don't, Jim. It's just that this would be so much fun for the children.
But it wouldn't, Margaret. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I know those little cabins you can get for practically nothing. They're one-room shanties with no improvements except built-in pneumonia.
But Joe Phillips told me
Joe Phillips was sick for a week after their last trip, wasn't he?
Well, sure.
And his father was flat on his back for 2 weeks.
I know, Dad, but...
Nothing happened to Mrs. Phillips.
How can you tell? Helen Phillips could have a galloping case of sleeping sickness, and nobody'd ever know the difference.
Jim, please.
Well, I'm just trying to explain.
Janie Liggett's family goes to a place.
Betty.
Yes, Father?
We are not the Liggets.
I know, Father.
Nobody can afford to do what the Liggets do.
But, Father...
And that includes the Liggets.
Father, if you'll only let me tell you.
Tell me what?
We don't mind roughing it for a few days, do we?
Heck no.
Gosh, it'd be worth getting pneumonia.
Kathy.
Well, wouldn't it?
It may be that I have very old-fashioned ideas, but I believe that a father has certain obligations to his family, and keeping them alive happens to be one. Now, let's not talk about it anymore.
I'll be 50 years old before I get a chance to use my sled.
Well, fine, you can take your grandchildren for a ride.
Daddy, you're silly.
I am, huh?
Sure. They'll have their own sleds.
Margaret! Margaret!
Why, Jim, it's early. It isn't even 4 o'clock.
Margaret, wait till you hear what happened. Where are the kids?
We're upstairs, Father.
Well, come on down. We're going to the mountains.
We're what?
Most amazing thing you ever heard.
But, Jim, I thought you said that
Wouldn't happen once in a million years.
But, Jim,
what's all this sound?
All right, let's calm down. Everybody take it easy.
Father, what happened?
Well, Mr. Gribble came into my office this afternoon, and we were discussing families and children, and first thing you know, I told him how I was letting mine down.
Oh, Jim, dear, you aren't really.
Well, I'm not now. Mr. Gribble says we can use his hunting lodge.
A hunting lodge?
Holy cow.
Wait till I tell Janie Liggett. Well, Jim, I thought you didn't want to go to the mountains.
Margaret, I didn't want to go to one of those shacks the kids were talking about, but Gribble's hunting lodge, well, that's a different story. You can just imagine what kind of a place he has.
Oh, Father, you're wonderful. You're just the most wonderful father anybody ever had.
And how?
Well, don't just stand there. Go on upstairs and pack.
Pack.
Jim, you don't mean now.
Of course I mean now. If we want to get there before dark, we've got to leave 10 minutes ago. Takes over 2 hours to get there.
But I can't go now, Father. I have a date tonight and tomorrow night.
So have I.
Well, if this isn't... You said you wanted to go to the mountains, didn't you?
Sure, but we didn't mean today. Holy cow.
Jim, we can't possibly go on such short notice. Well, our clothes aren't ready, and we have to buy food.
Gribble said the place was loaded with food. And what kind of clothes do you need? Shove a couple of sweaters in a suitcase and you're all set.
What'll I tell Billy Smith and Dick Andrews?
What'll I tell Joe Phillips?
I don't care what you tell them. I told Mr. Gribble we'd be happy to use his hunting lodge, and we're going to use it.
I don't want to go to the mountain.
I thought you wanted to use your sled.
Oh, that's right. Father, you don't even like the mountain.
I love the mountain.
You said it wasn't any fun.
I'm starting to have fun right now, see?
But you said we'd all get pneumonia.
I don't care if we all get double pneumonia. You said you wanted to go to the mountains, and you're going to the mountains if I have to drag you.
Well, let's start packing. After all.
I know. Father knows best.
Well, like it or not, the family's going to take that trip to the mountains. We'll see how they fare in just a moment. But right now, ladies, with all coffee prices high these days, it really pays to remember Maxwell House is true economy. Yes, and here's how one lady found that out. When coffee prices went up, she started shopping around, thinking she could find a cheaper coffee that would do. But when she brought one home, her husband turned thumbs down. Too weak, he said. So she put a lot more in the pot. But still her husband wouldn't drink it up. It may be strong now, he told her, but the flavor's all wrong. This coffee just doesn't have what it takes. And meal after meal, leftover coffee went to waste. Then she realized Maxwell House is true economy. Sure it is. Because you get so many more truly good cups of coffee from every pound. Discover the wonderful difference that vacuum packing means. The extra freshness and clear, rich taste. See how much more your husband and you enjoy that wonderful flavor. So good to the last drop, you drink every drop. You'll say Maxwell House is true economy. So get your money's worth and more. Remember, in your cup, on your table, Maxwell House is true economy. Always good to the last drop. Well, a few peaceful hours have gone by, and on the edge of a quiet mountain road, white with new fallen snow, we find the Andersons. The air is crisp and clear, and because of the altitude, just a trifle thin. Maybe that's why poor Jim is puffing just a little. Or perhaps there's another reason, like this.
Okay, Bud. When I give you the word, give it the gas.
Okay, Dad.
Are you ready?
You bet.
Well, let's go. Okay, Bud, that's enough.
You say something, Dad?
I said that's enough. Turn it off.
Okay.
No good country roads. Always getting stuck.
Didn't work, huh, Dad?
No, it didn't work. Now we're good and stuck.
Well, Father, I told you we were going off the road.
You told me. Everybody's always telling me. Look at the tree. Look at the sky. Look, look, look. How do you expect me to see anything?
But
we aren't off the road. We're still on the road. We're halfway through the road.
Dear, maybe we ought to go back home.
Margaret, how are we going to go anywhere? We're stuck.
Well, I mean, after we get out.
Well, let's worry about it when we get out. If we get out.
I'm hungry.
Now, let's not start that again, Kathy.
But I am.
Jim, I told you we should have brought some food.
Well, how did I know we were going to get stuck? We should have been there an hour ago. Bud.
You want me, Dad?
No, I just want to hear your name. It's such a beautiful name, so warm and friendly.
Holy cow, now what did I do?
Nothing. Come on out here and help me push.
Okay. The chains won't take, huh, Dad?
I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to be the snow so much. I think we got into some kind of a hole. Doggone thing looks like the Grand Canyon. Betty,
Yes, Father?
slide over in back of the wheel.
Daddy!
Just a minute, Kathy. Put it in low. When I give you the signal, let the clutch out fast. Do you understand?
I suppose so.
Well, there's nothing so complicated about it.
Daddy!
What is it, Kathy?
Somebody's coming.
Well, good for us. Maybe now we'll get out of here. Hello there.
Hey?
I said hello. We're stuck in the snow.
Having a little trouble?
Yes, we're stuck in the snow.
No, huh? Sure looks like you're having trouble.
We are. We're stuck.
Hey?
I said we're stuck. Can you pull us out with your tractor?
Actors, huh? Don't see many of them up here in the wintertime.
I didn't say we were actors. We want you to pull us out of the snow.
Putting on a show, huh?
No.
Good for you.
Will you please turn that thing off?
Eh?
I said turn the motor off. Turn it off.
Wait till I turn this darn thing off. Can't hear you. Now, what was it you was saying, young feller?
I said we're stuck in the snow.
Well, you don't have to shout. I ain't deep.
I'm sorry. We'd appreciate it very much if you'd pull us out.
Ooh, stuck in the snow, huh?
Yes, we certainly are.
Well, won't be much of a job. Where are you putting on the show?
I told you before, we're not actors.
No?
No.
Well, then what are you doing putting on a show?
We're not putting on a show. I never even mentioned a show. I said we were stuck in the snow.
Oh, snow. I thought you said show.
No.
Oh. Well, don't make much difference. Never go anyway. Here, grab onto this tow rope.
All right.
Want me to hook it up, Dad?
Yeah, go ahead, Bud.
I'll wrap it around the bumper a couple of times.
Better hook it onto the frame, Bud.
Okay.
I sure could have sworn you said you was actors.
No, we're just up here for the weekend. A friend of ours is letting us use his hunting lodge. Maybe you know him, J.P. Gribble?
Gribble? Nope, can't say as I do. What's he look like?
Well, he's rather large, has a very deep voice, about 50 years old, very dignified.
Hey, you mean the feller that comes up from Springfield, Fatso.
Yes, he lives in Springfield.
Well, you ain't going to get to Fatso's place this way.
I'm not?
No, sir. You're heading down to the lake.
Oh.
Guess you took the wrong turn back at the corners.
I see. Is it very far from here?
No. Won't take you more than 20 or 30 minutes. I'll show you a special shortcut. Save you 3 or 4 miles anyway. How you doing, son?
I think I've just about got it.
Okay. Climb out from under there.
Hurry up, Bud. You've been very kind, and I want you to know we appreciate it.
Oh, shucks. Tain't hardly nothing. What are people for if not to help one another? If you can't be neighborly, I always say you might just as well go someplace and lay down. And that's all I'm doing is being neighborly.
Well, it isn't everybody who'd go to all this trouble for complete strangers.
It's all set.
Okay, son. Well, I'll have you yanked out of there in no time now.
Thank you. You'll never know how grateful we are.
Oh, that's okay. Would you like to give me the money now?
What?
Well, it ain't that I don't trust you, but these here tractors don't go very fast. A couple of fellas got away slick as a whistle.
Oh. Weren't very neighborly, huh?
Not so as you could notice it. Well, hand up the $15 and we'll get going.
$15?
High, ain't it?
Why, it's outrageous.
Yeah, I know. But don't forget, I got a split with the fella what dug the hole.
stopping, Jim?
Oh, it's no sense going any further. I can't even see the road.
Boy, it's sure snowing.
I'm hungry.
Father, I told you we were on the wrong road.
We are not on the wrong road. He said turn left after the small bridge and then right at the fork.
But he said 2 miles, and you went almost 5.
Well, I have a very silly habit. When I make a turn, I like it to be on a road. Or would you rather go floating around in somebody's cornfield?
Oh, Jim, please don't get upset.
I'm not getting upset, but we're not lost.
Well, where are we?
How do I know? Stop asking silly questions.
Dad.
What?
Do you see something out there?
Where?
Over there, in back of those trees.
Father, it's a house.
I don't see any... Oh, that's no house. It looks more like a cattle shelter.
Well, it's better than being cooped up in the car. My legs are paralyzed.
I'm hungry.
Jim, we've got to do something. We can't sit here all night.
Maybe someone lives here, Dad. They might know where Mr. Gribble's place is.
All right, let's go ask him.
Boy, that wind's cold.
Well, don't just stand there. Let's go.
Jim?
Wait a minute, Bud. Margaret, there's no need for you to come along.
If you don't mind, dear, we'd rather.
Margaret, I'm perfectly capable of asking... Oh, you mean they might have some food?
I'm hungry.
Right now, if I had to choose between a mink coat and a cup of coffee, I'd be reaching for the cream and sugar.
Well, come on, Kathy. I'll carry you.
Oh, thank you, Daddy.
Let's go, Bud.
When I think of where I could be right now,
Betty.
sitting in a nice warm movie, eating nice hot popcorn.
Betty, this whole thing was your idea.
My idea.
And if I hear so much as one word of complaint out of you, so help me, I'll paddle you bow-legged.
Father.
That's telling her, Daddy.
That goes for you, too.
Gee whiz.
I wanted to stay home where it's warm and comfortable, but no, we've got to be like the Liggetts and the Phillips. Got to go to the mountains for the weekend. Look at this place. It's the worst-looking dump I've ever seen.
The door's locked.
Well, don't you think you ought to knock first?
There's nobody inside, Dad. I looked through the window.
Oh, dear, now what are we going to do?
Bud, you've got heavy shoes on. See if you can kick the lock off the door.
Oh, Jim, do you think...
It's all right, Margaret. Go ahead, Bud.
Okay, Dad.
Don't kick it too hard. You might shove the whole building over.
Gosh, that was easy.
Well, don't feel too excited about it, Samson. A large termite could have done the same thing. Well, let's go on in.
Ooh, I'm scared.
Now, there's nothing to be afraid of, Kathy. Go on in.
Oh, Jim, isn't this place awful?
Well, this is what they wanted. A weekend in the mountains.
Aren't there any lights?
No. And the bath is probably the first door on the left and 300 yards straight ahead.
Dad, here's a candle.
Well, light it.
Okay.
What's the matter?
Oh, Mommy, Daddy, I'm scared. There's a bear.
Where?
Up in the wall.
Oh, for heaven's
Kathy.
Well, there is. And they chopped his head off.
It's just a trophy, Kathy, probably shot by whoever owns this horrible joint. See, there's a plaque under it.
Oh, I don't like it.
Let me have the candle, Bud.
Here you are, Dad.
Now, look, Kathy, there's nothing to it. See, it says, Black Bear, 840 pounds. Oh, no.
Jim, what is it?
December 1st, 1938, J.P. Gribble.
So that's Mr. Gribble's hunting lodge. Looks like the family's got to make the best of a very poor bargain. And that brings up a mighty important point. Ladies, when you buy coffee, remember Maxwell House is true economy. Sure, Maxwell House is true economy. Of course, you can find cheaper coffees if the price tag is all you consider. But just consider this. Is there any economy when you have to use lots more coffee to make it strong enough, yet even then you can't get the flavor you want? Is there any economy when the flavor is so lacking your family leaves coffee unfinished in the cup? Figure it out. You'll say Maxwell House is true economy. So many more cups of wonderfully good coffee in every pound. So rich and extra flavorful. So good to the last drop. You always want more. Yes, there's good reason why more people drink Maxwell House than any other brand at any price. Maxwell House is true economy. So tomorrow, get your money's worth and more. Get Maxwell House. Always good to the last drop. The horrible night is over at last. Now it's Saturday morning. The storm has passed, the sun is shining, and the entire world seems brighter and far more cheerful. To most people, that is.
Good morning.
Good morning, dear. Did you sleep well?
Like a top. I'm still spinning. Oh, my back. I'll never get it straightened out. Where are the kids?
They're outside in the snow. Oh, they're having a wonderful time. See, you can see them through the window.
I can see them through the wall. Margaret, have you ever seen any place worse than this in your life?
No, dear, I haven't.
Hunting Lodge. Just wait till I see that guy Gribble.
Oh, he meant well, dear.
You should have heard the build-up he gave it, too. Secluded, restful, the most beautiful view in the country.
Well, there is a nice view, Jim.
Sure, especially through the roof. Look at it.
Well, you'll feel better after a nice hot breakfast.
Oh, you found the food, huh?
Uh-huh, a whole closet full.
Good. I haven't eaten since noon yesterday.
Well, what would you like? Some nice hot beans?
Margaret, don't be ridiculous. I'll have 8 dozen eggs and about 40 sausages.
No sausages, dear. How about some nice hot beans?
Oh, thank you. I'll just have eggs.
No eggs, dear. How about some nice hot beans?
Margaret, I don't like beans. Why can't I... Margaret.
Yes, dear.
You mean...
Yes, dear. A whole big closet full of beans.
If you like good things the easy way,
good things the easy way.
Instant Maxwell House, that's for you. Good coffee that's easy too.
No time, no trouble,
no grounds, no pot.
And it's good to the very last. You know what?
Yes, Instant Maxwell House means great coffee instantly in your cup. Here's real instant coffee. All pure Maxwell House coffee in instant form. Enjoy Instant Maxwell House. Instantly.
Good to the very last. You know what?
Join us again next week when we'll be back with Father Knows Best, starring Robert Young as Jim Anderson, with Roy Bargy and the Maxwell House Orchestra, and yours truly, Bill Foreman. Don't forget, membership cards for the Robert Young Good Drivers Club are waiting for you at your local NBC station. Get a man-to-man or dad-to-daughter pledge and sign up today. Be a good driver. Get your membership card in the Robert Young Good Drivers Club today. Now, until next Thursday, good night and good luck from the makers of Maxwell House, America's favorite brand of coffee. Always good to the last drop. Father Knows Best was transcribed in Hollywood and written by Ed James. Now stay tuned in for Screen Guild Theater, which follows immediately over most of these stations.
Next, Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor in Double Indemnity on NBC.
Remember, a Hallmark card when you care enough to send the very best. Tonight from Hollywood, the makers of Hallmark cards bring you an unusual true story on the Hallmark Hall of Fame. And here's our distinguished host, Mr. Lionel Barrymore.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen,
and welcome to the Hallmark Hall of Fame, where we bring you intriguing true stories about unusual people. Tonight, we pay tribute to a great humanitarian. His name was Henry Bergh, and the results of his amazing single-handed crusade against an age-old evil is evidenced by institutions all over America. Indeed, all over the civilized world. And we are especially proud tonight to have the distinguished actor, Mr. Edward Arnold, to play the role of Henry Bergh. But first, here's Frank Goss.
Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to find a Hallmark card that says what you want to say, just the way you want to say it? Well, let me tell you the reason. The makers of Hallmark cards are aware of the important part greeting cards play in your social life, of the links of friendship they represent. And so every Hallmark card is designed to meet specific standards of quality and good taste. Only the best will do for you to send to your friends. And because these standards have been maintained through the years, the Hallmark and Crown on the back of each card you mail means you care enough to send the very best. Lionel Barrymore appears by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of the new color picture Knights of the Round Table in CinemaScope, starring Robert Taylor, Ava Gardner, and Mel Ferrer. And now Mr. Barrymore brings you tonight's transcribed story, starring Mr. Edward Arnold as Henry Bergh, on the Hallmark Hall of Fame.
The year is 1863, and the place, St. Petersburg, now known as Leningrad, Russia. It is 6 months since Henry Bergh, at the age of 52, has been appointed secretary to the American ambassador. It's not a very high post for the moderately wealthy son of one of America's most prominent social families. Henry Bergh might well be considered a failure in the diplomatic service. But his presence in St. Petersburg has not gone unnoticed by the Russians. Far from it, as the dismayed American ambassador is learning in strong terms from an official representative of the Tsar's government.
I must warn you that this man Bergh will not be tolerated much longer if he persists in meddling in the affairs of the Russian people.
Please lower your voice, Captain. Just what do you propose that I do?
I order his dismissal at once.
You order? Well, he's an employee of the American legation, not the Russian government. He executes his duties faithfully and well. I will not discharge him.
Very well, then. Let me warn you. The police will no longer be responsible for his safety. If he so much...
You sent for me, sir? Oh, yes, Henry. Henry, this is Captain Verislov.
I met the captain this morning in the public square. Where you seized the halter from the hands of a peasant leading his cow to market and set the animal free to be lost in the streets.
Is this true, Henry?
It is, sir. By what right?
By the right of human decency. The animal was sore from lack of milking, followed by a half-starved calf bleating to be fed. And when she tried to stop to care for her young, she was beaten.
And is this a diplomatic matter for the American legation? The manner in which a Russian peasant chooses to treat a Russian cow?
The animal made no mention of its nationality. Henry, you must understand that the position that I must take is official. It is my duty to promote amicable relations between our nation and Russia. Regardless of my personal feelings and opinions in the matter, I must forbid any further interference in internal affairs, so long as you are on the staff of this legation.
Then, Mr. Ambassador, my wife and I will return to the United States. You have my resignation, effective as soon as I can be replaced.
Oh, Henry, are you sure this is the wisest course?
There is no other course, sir. People who so heartlessly abuse dumb beasts will not hesitate to mistreat their wives and their children. May God grant that they never hold such power over other nations and other people.
Henry? Ever since we returned to New York, you've been troubled. What is it, dear?
I don't like this feeling of constant failure, Mary.
failure.
Yes, failure. In Russia, I couldn't even defend the rights of a cow. Now I come home and find sick, abandoned, starving animals wandering the streets of my own country. In every dumb beast, I see the human race indicted for brutality.
I know, dear, but you're not a part of it.
I am a part of it if I do nothing about it. We all are. Every decent citizen in the nation should and must subscribe to some organization to correct this evil.
But no such organization exists.
I intend to see that it does. We have enough money to make a start. If we can educate people, enlist their aid, appeal to their reason.
Pull, you Jefferson. Pull like that, and I'll trip the height on your lazy bone.
Here, stop that, stop that.
Henry, be careful.
Whoa there, whoa.
Henry, you'll be trampled.
Whoa there, boy, whoa,
Let
whoa.
go of him, you fool. Now, what do you think you're doing?
What do you think you're doing, striking a poor beast like that?
Well, I'll be... Oh, so that's it.
This animal is overloaded. It would take two like him to pull that wagon the way you've got it stacked.
Not when he tastes the whip, it doesn't.
Well, he isn't going to taste the whip again.
Oh, no, is he not? Look, me fine gentleman, you pick up your nice silk hat and go on about your business.
I will as soon as you and I have removed half the load from this wagon.
Maybe you've not been hearing me. Maybe you need a taste of the whip yourself.
Here, give me that.
Well, why don't you take it away from me?
Oh, wait. Here, this is for you. Let me go until I'm all right. Let me be. There, this is settling. Well, have you had enough, my friend?
No. It'll be no small task explaining to the lads in the market how Pat McLean was done in by a man in a silk hat.
Will you hold my jacket? Matilda, what's left of it?
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to help my good friend Pat McLean unload this wagon.
Sit on your wagons and keep your ears open and your jaws shut. There is a man here who has something to say to all of you. He said it to me this afternoon after making me a present of this black eye you've all been admiring. All right, now, here he is, a fine gentleman, Mr. Henry Borg.
Man, I want to talk to you about your partners in business. The horses that pull your wagons. Now, they don't get paid except for being cared for. And they're not always cared for well. I'm asking for a raise, a drink of water and a short rest whenever they need it, a blanket over them when it's cold, and a wagon fairly loaded with consideration for the size, age, and strength of the animal pulling it. Now, wait a moment. Please use your heads if you can't use your heart. You can weaken a horse so he can't pull. You can find him lying lame and sick in his stall. You can kill him a few years before his time. If you do, you both lose. I ask you to make these changes voluntarily. A decent code of human behavior. If you don't, then I shall petition every court in this land, if necessary, to protect your animals and punish you in turn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Berg. I'm with you, but it looks like you've got a long road ahead. Good evening, Mrs. Berg. Is himself home?
No, not yet, Pat. I guess he's still in court. There's another case, you know.
Yes, ma'am. Those young fellas who were out shooting birds.
Won't you come in and wait? My husband will be happy to see you.
Yeah. I got 4 of the teamsters to sign up for the pledge Mr. Berg's been asking them to take. They each give me 50 cents to help things along. I know it ain't much, but...
He'll be proud and delighted, Pat.
They're not bad fellas, ma'am. They're the ones who won't sign. It's just that the newspapers have been making such a joke of Mr. Berg.
Oh, there he is. Don't mention the newspapers to him, Pat. Just give him your good news.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, dear.
Henry?
Oh, hello, Pat.
Evening, sir.
Is the case over, Henry?
Yes, it's over. And my record as a failure is untarnished.
Oh, darling.
Judge Harron wouldn't even listen to the bill of particulars. The defense attorney moved for a dismissal the moment the court opened, and Hearn granted it. I tried to protest, and he fined me $200 for contempt of court.
Contempt of court? Isn't there something you can do?
Yes, there is. I can fight. I filed another action this afternoon.
Against whom?
Not somebody they'll laugh at this time. Against Kit Burns, the professional gambler who's been staging those fights between dogs and gamecocks.
Kit Burns?
Oh, begging your pardon, sir, but he's a powerful man.
He's a brute and a criminal.
Henry, after today, do you honestly think you'll be able to bring such a man to trial?
I'll bring him there. If it takes the rest of my life, I'll bring him there.
I'm afraid the missus is right, sir. You'll have a long wait.
Then I'll know how to spend it. I arranged for a loan on the house today, Matilda. I bought a barn on the east side.
For the shelter?
Yes, we'll convert it to house every sick and starving animal it can humanely hold. If I'm going to be a fool, I'm going to be a big fool.
In just a moment, we return to the second act of the Hallmark Hall of Fame. Yesterday, I ran into an old friend of mine downtown. The first thing he said was, "Say, Jane and I really appreciated that anniversary card you folks sent us. How do you manage to remember the date each year?" Well, I had to admit that we didn't rely entirely on our memories. You see, like so many busy women, my wife keeps track of special dates in her Hallmark date book. If you don't have one, let me tell you about it. The Hallmark date book is a handy little reminder, just the right size to slip into your pocketbook. It contains a page-by-page calendar for the year with space for notations beneath each day. That way you can jot down the dates of anniversaries, birthdays, dental appointments, club meetings, everything you want to remember. As my wife says, a Hallmark date book is the next best thing to having a social secretary. And best of all, you can have yours just for the asking. It's a gift from stores that feature Hallmark cards. So why not get your Hallmark date book tomorrow? And now Lionel Barrymore brings you the second act of our true story of Henry Berg. Starring Mr. Edward Arnold.
One by one, the art treasures and the heirlooms disappeared from the home of Henry Berg. And the clothes that Henry and Matilda wore were not as new and fashionable as they might have been. But each new day found the converted barn expanding to hold more and more sick and homeless animals. The curious came to look and laugh. But here and there, one stopped laughing and pitched in to help.
Yeah, don't petition that stall. Just wire across the front.
Pardon me, monsieur. Are you Henri Berg?
Your servant, sir.
My name is Bonnard.
Well, if you have a bill to present, Mr. Bonnard, I'm afraid...
No. You owe me nothing, monsieur. I have come only to offer my help, if you can use me.
Well, Mr. Bonnard,
I know I am a very old man, monsieur, but surely there must be some use, even for an old man.
Why, of course there is. I'm very grateful for your offer, Mr. Bonnard. We're using scrap nails. Perhaps you could sort them for us and straighten the bent ones.
I would be happy.
Well, I'll tell you, they're back here. Oh, perhaps we may be able to pay you. I don't know. It won't be much.
I need no payment, monsieur. Believe me.
Are you French?
French Canadian. Do you know how I made my living? I was a trapper, a dealer in furs. Age brings strange changes, monsieur. Once, I killed animals. Now, I would help them, as you do.
I'm very happy to have you here, sir. We could use all the help we can get.
Do not fear, monsieur. You will have help. I promise you.
Order in the courts. If there is any further demonstration, I will instruct the bailiff to clear the room of all spectators.
Your Honor.
The bench recognizes the district attorney. You may proceed, Mr. Lassiter.
My office is sufficiently burdened with work without being forced to make futile attempts to prosecute complaints filed by Mr. Berg. The defendant in this action is a gentleman and a sportsman who is known and respected throughout the city. Mr. Kit Burns.
Your Honor! All right, Mr. Berg. What is it?
I would like to give the court a more accurate description of Mr. Kit Burns. This so-called sport that he promises consists of putting two dogs or gamecocks in a pit where they attempt to rip each other to shreds in a fight to the death.
My customers like what I give them, Your Honor. Several gentlemen from the state legislature and the Board of Aldermen have reserved seats for every event.
That is true, Your Honor, they do. But again, not gentlemen. A handful of corrupt officials who block passage of any laws that would put Kit Burns and his like out of business.
Order! Order in this court! I'll file a suit for slander against you, Berg, and send you to the state penitentiary.
I would welcome such a suit.
That will be all from both of you.
Will you please continue, Mr. Lassiter?
Well, Your Honor, I don't know how to continue. If Mr. Berg has forced me into this court, but I have no legal ground on which to prosecute this action, there's nothing in Mr. Burns' sporting events which violate either the letter or the intent of the law.
Then the action has no place in this court. Mr. Burns, the charges against you are dismissed.
You can't do this, Your Honor.
I have done it, Mr. Berg. How long are you going to insist upon filing actions in which the plaintiffs are animals?
Until some animal walks into this court and files a complaint for itself.
Mr. Berg, I find you in contempt. You are sentenced to 10 days in the city jail.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I apologize for offending the court. I came here to plead for animals, that's true. But I also came to plead for people. Animals are part of our daily lives, Your Honor. They supply us with food and clothing. They also give us intangible blessings such as loyalty and love, companionship and devotion. I don't think that these gifts can be paid for with a kick and a curse, or with murder in the name of sport. I have seen brutality in other lands go unchallenged. I do not believe it can long go unchallenged in America. If it does, then our sense of what is right and just must perish. I ask every man in this courtroom to commend this thought to his conscience and to his immortal soul. Thank you for permitting me to speak, Your Honor.
The jail sentence is suspended. This court is adjourned.
What makes you think he'll be here, Burns?
Oh, he comes down to the market every night. Makes trouble for these teamsters. Didn't you see the cartoons?
Yeah. Well, how far should we go?
Give him a beating that he'll never forget. Yeah, here comes Berg now. All right, get him.
Okay.
Just a minute, mister. Were you speaking to me?
Yeah. I got a present for you. Little contribution for your society.
That's it.
Come on, you men. Get in this. Come on.
Hey, what's going on there? Patrick Grant? You're facing up on Mr. Berg. Come on, teamsters. Come on, you duggers.
Hey, get out of it, man. Run.
Oh, no, you don't say bucko. It's fighting you came for, and it's fighting you'll get.
Now, I'll hold the cup, Henry. You just sip.
Well, I can do this jaw and lip.
Oh, just a moment, dear.
Mrs. Berg?
Yes?
I'm James Gordon Bennett, the editor of the New York Herald.
Oh. Won't you, come in, Mr. In case you don't recognize him, Mr. Bennett, this is my husband. You've seen him in newspaper cartoons.
Oh, now, Matilda.
It's all right, Mr. Berg. She's entirely justified. I was in court when you spoke yesterday. It was the first time I'd seen you personally. I have come to pledge you the complete editorial support of the New York Herald in your campaign, and my unlimited personal support. I want to apologize for every member of my profession who was thoughtless enough to try to make a humanitarian look like a fool.
My humble thanks to you, son.
Don't thank me. Thank the people who made me go to court. I went because we received thousands of letters from all over the country supporting your campaign.
I actually reached the people?
You reached them, sir, and they reached us. The Herald's front page tomorrow will carry an editorial demanding new and adequate laws to bring cruelty to animals to an end.
Well, there it is, Mattie.
The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Oh, it's a very pretty sign, Henry.
The first shelter for animals. If only Bonar could have lived to see it completed.
Henry?
Well, James Bennett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bennett.
I see it's finally finished, Henry. It's a real monument. You should be proud.
Built nail by nail and dollar by dollar.
That's no longer the case, Henry. You've got more money than you ever dreamed.
How's that?
I brought you tonight's Herald. Read it.
French-Canadian trapper leaves fortune to Berg Society. Bonar bequeaths $115,000 to Society for the prevention of cruelty to animals.
Henry.
Bonar? Why, it's impossible.
Apparently, he was a very wealthy man, Henry. They found his will last night, naming you and your society the sole heirs.
A man who spent most of his life trapping animals.
It is written in the 11th chapter of Isaiah, "The wolf also shall dwell with the kid, and the leopard shall lie down with the lamb."
Henry Berg started the organization known throughout the land today as the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and its growth gave strength and impetus to similar organizations in England and throughout the civilized world. By unwavering courage and perseverance, Henry Berg won the battle against brutality and made the world a better place to live in, for animals and for men.
In just a minute, Mr. Barrymore will be back with our guest, Edward Arnold. At this season of the year, friendly acts and friendly thoughts take on a richer meaning, and we realize anew how much we value our friends. If you're thinking along these lines right now, you'll find that one of the best helps for keeping friendships growing throughout the year is waiting for you at the fine stores that feature Hallmark cards. It's the Hallmark Date Book for 1954. This handy date book makes remembering easy, for it has space for the names and addresses of all your friends, room to put in their special dates, their birthdays, anniversaries, and the like. In fact, every date you want to remember in the new year. And the Hallmark Date Book is just the right size to carry with you, so you'll always have a reminder to help you be a better friend. So this week, when you're in the stores that feature Hallmark cards, just ask for your Hallmark Date Book. It's the store's gift to you for friendship's sake. Tonight, these same stores, as well as the makers of Hallmark cards, and all of us here on the Hallmark Hall of Fame, want to wish you and yours a very happy and prosperous new year. And now, here again is Lionel Barrymore.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. And thank you, Edward Arnold, for a perfectly splendid performance. It's good to have you back with us again on a Hallmark program. It's always a special occasion when you're with us.
Well, thank you, Lionel. And if I may return the compliment, I always look forward to the stories that you do on Hallmark Hall of Fame, and I'll tell you why. Your stories are always entertaining and often dramatic and exciting as well. But more important to me, they have an inspiring quality about them. That's partly because you tell true stories about real people. And it's also because, well, you know these people for their courage or faith or kindness and love of their fellow men and the defenseless creatures of this world, like today's story, for instance. I think we should have more programs like this that the whole family can enjoy and then mull over them afterwards and profit by them in their daily lives. And so that's why I'm especially delighted to be here with you today.
Well, Eddie, all I can say after that is here. Please take one of our Hallmark date books and mark down the soonest possible date that you can be with us again on the Hallmark Hall of Fame. And you'll find this date book will come in real handy for a busy gentleman like yourself.
Oh, good. I'd like to have one. And good night. I hope to see you soon, Lionel. Happy New Year to everybody.
Good night, Eddie. Good night. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us on the Hallmark Hall of Fame and the makers of Hallmark cards and the fine stores that feature them, may I wish you and yours a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Remember, you're also invited to the Hallmark Hall of Fame on television every Sunday, starring Miss Sarah Churchill. Until next week, then, this is Lionel Barrymore saying good night.
Look for Hallmark cards that are sold only in stores that have been carefully selected to give you expert and friendly service. Remember, a Hallmark card when you carry enough to send the very best. Edward Arnold can soon be seen in the forthcoming release, Man of Conflict. Our producer-director is William Prue. Our transcribed story tonight was written by Joel Murcott. Featured in our cast were Jeanette Nolan, William Johnstone, Ben Wright, Howard McNear, Herb Butterfield, Lawrence Dobkin, Ken Christie, and John Daner. This is Frank Goss, saying goodnight to you until next week at this same time, when we present an exciting story about the famous cowboy Tom Mix. And the week following, we'll bring you a true story about William Allen White. And on January 17th, we salute Mark Twain on the Hallmark Hall of Fame. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is KMBC, Kansas City, Missouri.
Rinso, R-I-N-S-O, Soapy Rich Rinso presents Boston Blackie, starring Chester Morris.
What are you reading, Chief? Little Abner?
No, listen to this, Matthews. Special feature of the Great Gems exhibit at the famous Godet Jewelers will be the incomparable Star of the Nile emerald. One of the most precious gems in the world. So precious that George Stevens, vice president of Godet's, is personally bringing the star to Chicago from Chicago to New York.
I don't get the joke, Chief.
Sure you don't, because you don't know that Boston Blackie's on the same train with George Stevens.
Chief, I don't get it.
Well, if I know my Boston Blackie, and to my great sorrow I do, he won't be able to resist a little gadget worth a cool $200,000.
I still don't see what's funny. Besides, Blackie hasn't gone after sparklers in a long time.
I know that, but I also know one thing that sparkles that's right up Blackie's alley.
What's that?
Dames.
Sure, Chief, but the Star of the Nile ain't a dame.
Yeah, but Helen Crew is.
Helen Crew?
Yeah, something's bound to happen on a train when it's carrying those three. George Stevens, Helen Carew, and Boston Blackie.
Well, nobody has to lead Blackie to adventure because somehow adventure always seems to seek him out. In just a moment, we'll hear more about Blackie and the Star of the Nile. You know, you can lead a soap to water, but you can't always make it give thick, rich suds. Not if it's hard water, and not if you're using one of those Lazy Bar or Skimpy Suds package soaps. No, ma'am, that's when you want Rinso. Soapy Rich Rinso on the job. You see, Rinso bubbles up into mountains of suds, practically at the touch of water. Suds that go right to town on your clothes. Suds that get out more dirt to give you that Rinso white, Rinso bright wash. And no hard scrubbing or boiling to ruin your wash day disposition. A short soaking in Rinso suds, a few quick finger rubs on extra soiled places, and your clothes are ready to rinse. So, next wash day, whistle up a Rinso wash. A wash that's Rinso white and Rinso bright. And now, Chester Morris and the Adventures of Boston Blackie.
It's obvious that an international bank should be established for reconstruction. At the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference held at Bretton Woods, certain preliminary steps were taken. However, it is only the beginning. When you realize that the International Monetary Fund will total around $8.5 billion. But that's only the beginning.
Yes, well, a small beginning. You know, I get kind of mixed up when I start counting over 850.
Oh, young man, we'll all have to learn how to count in millions and billions in the post-war world.
Well, that's very interesting. Oh, here you are, Stuart. I'd like some dessert. Can you take this seat, miss?
Oh, thank you.
Never mind the dessert, Stuart.
Well, I'm finished. Wouldn't you rather have this chair by the window?
Thank you.
And good day to you, young man. Thanks for your company.
Well, thanks to you for the tip on the international monetary situation. I can't wait to use it. Very interesting man.
And very distinguished looking, too. Who is he?
I don't know, but he's awfully good at counting. Is it all right if we talk?
Why not? You see, my mother never told me not to talk to strangers on a train.
I like your mother. Very intelligent woman.
Well, I'm no isolationist. But to make it proper, my name is Helen Carew.
Oh, and mine is Boston Blackie.
I've heard that name somewhere. Are you a baseball player?
No, why? Do you like baseball?
No, not particularly.
Well, why did you bring up the subject?
Oh, just to make conversation.
Fine. Let's talk about you.
All right, let's. I'm a very pleased young lady on a train between Chicago and New York.
Why are you pleased?
Because I didn't expect conversation with my dinner.
Well, do you realize that the International Monetary Fund will total about $8.5 billion this year?
No.
Yes. You see... Uh-oh, it's back again.
Excuse me, I've lost something.
It can't be that $8.5 million.
No, it was a chamois pouch. I don't see it. Wait.
Oh, I'd better get out of the way.
It isn't here.
Oh, pardon me, sir. What did you lose?
This is terrible, terrible. Waiter.
Oh, it sounds important.
Young man, you have no idea how important. That pouch was worth $200,000.
That's a lot of money to be carrying around.
It wasn't money. It was an emerald. One of the most valuable gems in the world, the Star of the Nile.
What a pretty name.
I tell you, Inspector, I've been robbed. It was sometime during the dinner hour. The Star of the Nile is missing.
Okay, Mr. Stevens, I got that much from the telegram the conductor sent. Now, we'll search every passenger on the train if we have to, so calm down. You say you thought you left it in the diner. Were you alone?
No, a young man joined me for dinner, and then later, just before I left, a young lady was seated at our table.
Mm-hmm. Friends of yours?
Oh, no, just the people one meets on a train.
Now, this young man, what was he like?
Well, he was a clean-cut-looking chap with dark hair, a good build, nice smile.
I'm not a bit surprised. And the young lady?
Oh, quite attractive. As a matter of fact, the young man seemed rather taken with her.
Well, Mr. Stevens, I don't think you have to worry about your Star of the Nile. I might even say the situation is well in hand. Matthew should be here any moment now with the man we're looking for.
Here he is, Chief.
Welcome, Boston Blackie. Welcome home. Your new home. As a matter of fact, I've prepared a special escort to take you there.
Well, now, how thoughtful, Inspector. But where's the brass band?
All right, come off it, Blackie. Where's the emerald?
This is a great shock to me, young man.
Well, it's no shock to me, sir. I know my Faraday. He never fails. He never fails to be dead wrong.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Blackie. But you were in the diner with Mr. Stevens when the emerald disappeared.
Mr. Stevens? I didn't even know that was his name.
Oh, now, Blackie, as if you didn't know that Mr. Stevens was vice president of Goday's and that he was carrying the Star of the Nile to New York. As if you didn't read the papers.
Of course I read the papers, Inspector, but I I was a little more interested in the fact that we'd just taken Cannes and Saipan.
Okay. Now you can tell me all about that at headquarters. Come on, Blackie.
Now, look, Faraday, do you mind if I talk this over with Mr. Stevens?
Whatever you have to say, you stay at headquarters. Come on.
I'll be in touch with you, Inspector. Thanks again.
Now, about that brass band, Blackie, I'll arrange to have one when we send you up the river.
Oh, are you leaving, Mr. Blackie?
Oh, yes. Yes, my Uncle Faraday always brings the town car to meet me.
Uncle Faraday, my aunt.
Well, your Uncle Faraday must have a lot of influence. I wonder when the police are going to let the rest of us off the train.
Well, Miss Carew, I'll see if I can use my influence. You see, he happens to be the police. Oh, Uncle, meet Miss Carew.
How do you do, Mr.
Pleased
Faraday?
to meet you. I hope this fellow hasn't taken you in, too.
Oh, no, Mr. Faraday. On the contrary, he's been very nice to me.
Yeah, that's Blackie. Well, you might as well know, Miss Carew. He's being charged with the theft of the Star of the Nile.
But that's impossible.
Impossible? What do you mean, Miss Carew?
I was at the table when Mr. Stevens discovered his loss, and I'm sure that Mr. Blackie had nothing whatever to do with it.
You haven't known him as long as I have, Miss Carew. You mean to tell me that Boston Blackie didn't do it?
That's exactly what I mean.
Well, thanks, Miss Carew, for telling the inspector something that he should have known. He usually goes the long way around. You helped him find the shortcut.
Oh, you haven't gone yet, Inspector.
No, I'm afraid we'll have to begin all over again, Mr. Stevens.
What do you mean?
Well, Miss Carew here has a strong alibi for Blackie, and I'm still looking for a loophole, but under the circumstances, I'm afraid I can't hold him.
But you're going to do something about it, aren't you, Inspector?
Well,
after all, you were sure that the emerald must still be on the train.
Well, that's right, Mr. Stevens, it is. That's what I tried to tell you before the inspector shut me up.
Oh, so you know. Well, come on, Blackie, where is it?
I didn't say I knew where. Mr. Stevens, you're rather absent-minded, aren't you?
Absent-minded? Why, no.
Well, perhaps I'm jumping to conclusions, but, of course, if you remember, you left the diner without paying your bill.
I did?
Oh, not that I minded buying your dinner, Mr. Stevens, but it occurred to me that if you were absent-minded enough to forget your dinner check, you also might have forgotten something else.
How could I forget the Star of the Nile? I put it in my vest pocket just before I went into the diner.
Oh, are you sure you put it in your vest pocket, Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Well, then the whole thing's solved. You know, all during dinner, I was envying you, Mr. Stevens. I really was. You looked so cool and comfortable in that sports jacket you were wearing, and you weren't wearing a vest, Mr. Stevens.
I wasn't? Well, that's absurd. Now, wait a minute.
Now, what's going on here? Vests, sports jackets. Come on, Blackie.
Don't you remember, Mr. Stevens?
Now, let me think. I lay down to take a nap just before dinner.
Yeah.
I got up and dressed and... By George, you're right.
Oh.
The emerald must be in the vest that I packed in my suitcase. Oh, Inspector, I'm terribly sorry to have caused you all this trouble, and you, young man, and young lady. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Good day.
Well, how do you like that?
You seem to be disappointed, Inspector.
Yeah. You know, if Boston Blackie can sit next to a guy in a train that's got something worth $200,000 and not do something about it, I guess it's time I turned in my bag.
Well, you should have thought of that before, Inspector.
Yeah.
Just think. By now, you could have had a cottage, a couple of cows, a victory garden, instead of that pet ulcer of yours. By the way, what do you call it?
Boston Blackie. What else?
Why, Inspector, how sweet of you, naming your first one after me.
Taxi!
Oh, Miss Carew, I've been looking for you. Here's a cab coming up now. May I drop you someplace?
Thanks.
Where to, Miss Carew?
The Middleton, please.
Okay, driver, 48th Street off Lexington.
You don't miss a thing, do you, Mr. Blackie?
Well, I have a great appreciation for beautiful things.
Oh, then you must have seen the Star of the Nile.
Star of the Nile?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about beautiful things. Such as, well, the dessert I had for dinner last night.
Oh. I was just marveling at how clever you were, helping Mr. Stevens to find his emerald.
Well, it isn't hard to find something that was never lost, Miss Carew. And, incidentally, thanks for putting in a good word for me with the inspector.
Oh, don't mention it.
By the way, I'll bet there's another thing your mother forgot to warn you about.
Oh?
Accepting dinner invitations from a young man in a taxi cab.
I told you not to disturb me, Miss Everett. I'm too busy to see... Oh, who are you?
Louis?
Louis?
Yeah. Miller said you wanted to see me.
Oh, yes, Mr. Louis. Won't you sit down?
Now, look, let's get this straight, Mr. Stevens. I don't know you, but Miller said you had a job for a guy with fingers.
Well, I wouldn't exactly put it that way, Mr.
And another
Louis.
thing, Mr. Stevens. This is strictly business. Miller says you want me to open up a safe down at Goday's and lift a hunk of jewelry.
Well, now...
And what's more, Mr. Stevens, I know you're vice president of Goday's. That's your business, but it ain't mine. And if you're worrying about what might happen, you're in a swell spot. After all, who'd the judge believe? Me or you?
Well, I'm glad we understand each other, Mr. Louis. The emerald has already been deposited in the Godet vault, and since the exhibit will open tomorrow, there's no reason for any further delay.
Hey, Blackie. Did you hear me calling you?
Well, vaguely. To be honest with you, Shorty, I had my mind on somebody else.
Well, boss, I just heard something I thought you'd be interested in.
Yeah?
You know, you were telling me about that emerald mixed up on the train?
Yeah.
Well, I just got a tip, see? Somebody's going to crack the Godet safe for that emerald.
When?
Midnight.
How straight was this tip, Shorty?
A very reliable tip, boss. Fingers told me.
Fingers? Oh, that's too big a job for him. He's only got 10.
Well, that's what the man said. He said that.
That small-time safecracker. I guess I'd better go down and help him out. But before business, pleasure. Well, for once, Miss Carew, I can't blame Faraday. After all, he brought us together.
Brought us together?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Well, if he hadn't accused me, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to vouch for me, and, well, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to show you my appreciation.
Oh, I see. Well, the whole thing was a little silly anyway.
Oh, well, not altogether. Faraday has the memory of an elephant and the persistence of a little beaver. And looks like both of them. If anything happens, it's got to be Boston Blackie.
Oh, that's a nuisance, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Faraday hounds me, but it's good to have him around at the wind-up.
Blackie, I don't quite make you out, but I like you.
Thanks. I hope that's an understatement.
Well, I'm surprised the police are so suspicious of you.
Oh, that's the story of my life. You see, Faraday has good instincts, only he picks the wrong person. If he knew, for instance, that tonight I may have something to do with robbing a vault, he'd become suspicious right away.
But, of course, you haven't anything to do with that.
But, of course, I have. Only it's not as bad as it sounds.
Oh, now I'm really puzzled.
Well, the only puzzle is, why don't I spend the rest of the evening with you?
Meaning that you have to leave?
Meaning that I have an important conference about something green and something Egyptian.
Oh, I see. But like the Sphinx, you won't talk.
Perhaps I'll have something to tell you later. I'll get your coat.
Oh, thanks. I have to phone.
But don't make any dates for the next month. I want to put in my bid first.
Hello? Operator, give me Madison 72772. Hello? Inspector? This is Helen Carew. I just had dinner with Boston Blackie. We're leaving now. He's dropping me off at my hotel. He's going down to Godet's. He's after the emerald. And, Inspector, if you should happen to catch him, please don't mention me.
The flowers that bloom in the summer have nothing on your pretty cotton washable dresses, ladies, not when it comes to eye-filling loveliness. And say, you were particular to pick out just the dresses you wanted, weren't you? Well, then you ought to be just as particular about your soap. That's when you want Rinso. Washed after wash, Rinso leaves your clothes bright and new-looking because those power-packed suds get out more dirt. Yes, you'll be proud of your Rinso wash. I'll bet you'll join our chorus of women who have learned to sing their way through wash day like this.
Rinso white, Rinso white, happy little wash day song. Rinso white, Rinso white, Birdie sing it all day long. Your fine feathered friend has a message to send, so listen, you can't go wrong. Rinso white, happy little wash day song.
So get Rinso tomorrow. And now back to Chester Morris and the adventures of Boston Blackie. Boston Blackie, unaware that Helen Carew has tipped off Inspector Faraday as to his destination, is en route to Godet's Jewelers to try to prevent the robbery of the vault there and to discover who is back of the attempt to steal the famous Star of the Nile emerald. It is midnight at the Godet vault.
It's no use, Louis. It's one of them new-style vaults. I can't make it out.
Well, we got dynamite. I'll have to use it. I don't like a noisy job, but where is it?
I left it out in the alley, boss.
Now, go get it.
Okay, I'm going.
Try again, Fingers. Stevens is paying off plenty.
Well, I'm nervous. This is a big job, boss.
Too big for you, Fingers. Okay, stay where you are.
Boston Blackie.
That's right. What were you saying about a certain Mr. Stevens?
Now, look, Blackie, let's be sensible about this. Well, we're having a little trouble cracking this crib. Yeah.
I'll make a bet with you.
I'll bet you can't open it.
Are you kidding, Fingers?
I'll make a good bet.
All right.
So it'll pay you to try.
Well, I'll make a bet with you. Not the kind of a bet that'll pay you in money, but it might save a few years of your life.
Huh?
Yeah, all you have to do is talk.
Yeah, we'll talk, Blackie. And drop your rod first.
Oh, so you got a little playmate. Okay, take your gun away from my back.
Get it, Louis. I get it. You know, Blackie, this is a happy coincidence. As I said before, we can use you. Only now the bet's off. You're just going to do it. Come on, get those fingers working.
And suppose these fingers can't open the vault.
And the next time you go to buy gloves, you better look for mittens. Come on, take a good look at the crib.
Oh, a beautiful job. You know, Faraday should see me now. Okay. Stand back and keep quiet.
Yeah, we'll be quiet, all right, but it's up to you, Blackie. This gun can make a lot of noise.
Wait a minute. It feels like, there's one. Now, let's try this. Next one. Oh, now that's two. Now...
Open up, Louis. Break this door down. Come on, it's along.
It's the cops.
Yeah, Miller. Is the alley door open?
Yeah, Joe's covering out there.
Okay, let's beat it.
What about Blackie?
Forget about Blackie. Come on.
Okay.
There you go, Chief. Stop, Blackie, or we'll shoot.
I've warned you, Blackie. Hey, this isn't Blackie. Hey, who are these other two? Oh, Louis, huh?
Yeah, Fingers and Miller.
Hey, what is this, a national convention? Where's Blackie?
How'd you know Blackie was going to be down there, Faraday?
A little bird told me, but where is he?
Well, now, I don't expect you to believe this, Inspector, but so help me. We were passing by the alley, and we heard a noise, and we come in. Naturally curious, you understand?
Yeah.
And who do you suppose was starting to crack that vault?
Don't tell me. Boston Blackie?
Yeah.
Well, then what are we doing out here in the alley? He couldn't have gotten away.
Yeah, Chief, there's only two doors to that room. We came through this one.
Hey,
so
Eddie.
he better be back in that vault room.
That's right. Eddie, watch these mugs here.
Right.
Come on, Matthews, let's have a look.
He ain't in here, Chief. Ain't in here.
Oh, I can see for myself, Matthews. I can see for myself. Must have slipped through the door before we came in. Matthews, you're fired.
Me, Chief? I ain't done nothing.
That's the trouble. You never do anything. I'll see if the vault's open, Matthews.
Okay, Chief. Now, lock tight on the drum. There ain't a mark on it. Looks like we saved the emerald for go days, huh, Inspector?
Yeah, but I wish somebody had saved Blackie for me. Matthews, I hate to say it, but we gave Blackie a break. We came in just in time to save him from getting into trouble.
I just wanted to thank you, Inspector, for preventing the robbery last night and catching the thieves.
Don't mention it, Mr. Stevens.
Tell me, did they have a chance to open the vault?
Nope, we were Johnny on the spot. They never even got started.
Well, Inspector, I can't thank you enough for the fine job you've done.
Fine job. Nothing ever happens. Nobody steals anything. Listen, Mr. Stevens, if somebody should steal that emerald and I catch him, then you can thank me. What burns me up is that Boston Blackie was down there, too, but he got away.
Boston Blackie, he got away? Are you sure the vault wasn't opened?
Sure, we tried it. It was locked tight.
Well, that's fine, but to be on the safe side, I'd better check up. I'll go right down to the vault myself. But I tell you, Faraday, it's gone. The emerald's gone. I just searched the vault. It's gone.
That's great. I've really got Boston Blackie now. Don't worry, Mr. Stevens. Calm down. You'll get your star, and I'll get Boston Blackie.
So that's what happened, Helen. Faraday collected 3 mugs, and he didn't seem pleased about it.
Blackie, how did you get out?
Well, while Faraday was rounding up the other mugs, I got the last number of the vault's combination, you see?
Mm-hmm.
I opened the door and stepped in and then closed it.
You might have been locked in.
I was locked in, fortunately, because somebody tried the handle of the vault later. You see, Helen, modern vaults have an anti-hold-up device.
What's that?
Oh, it's a sort of gimmick that locks the door from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just pushed the lever. After they left, I slipped out through the alley door.
What were you after, Blackie?
I told you before. Something green and something Egyptian. The Star of the Nile emerald, of course.
Did you find it in the vault?
Yes.
Oh.
But I didn't take it. I just wanted to make sure it was there.
You didn't take it. Blackie, I don't understand you.
Now, look, somebody's after the Star of the Nile, and if he gets it, somebody's going to take the rap for it. Could be me, but that's not the point. Nobody's going to take a rap for somebody else while I'm around.
You're talking about somebody. Who?
I'll find that out. But first, I want to have a talk with Mr. Stevens at his hotel. Perhaps he has an idea. Goodbye, Helen. Next time, I promise you, we won't have any outside interference.
Operator, give me Madison 72772. Hello? Helen Carew speaking. Oh, the inspector isn't there? Well, then I want to leave a message. Tell him that Boston Blackie is on his way to the Cavanaugh Hotel to see Mr. Stevens. I can't wait for the inspector to call back, so tell him I'm going to see Stevens, too, right now. But try to get the inspector there as quickly as you can.
Slow down, Blackie. Slow down there. Okay, you can march in step with me and Matthews now.
You taking your afternoon constitutional, gentlemen?
What were you doing back there at the Middleton apartment, Blackie?
Now, Inspector, you're privileged to know anything about my public life,
Mm-hmm.
but I insist that you don't interfere in my private affairs.
Well, this is a little private affair that I am interfering in. Oh. You're under arrest for stealing the Star of the Nile.
What, again?
And no alibi this time either. You were down at the Godet vault with Louis and the two other guys. I got them and searched them, but you got away. Now, somebody got that emerald out of the vault. Come on. Shake a leg, Blackie. Hey, I didn't say stop. I said go.
Police! Police, I've been robbed.
You have? Who robbed? Have you gone nuts, Blackie?
Let me go, police!
Oh, cut it out. What is it? Now,
Who, what?
Let me go.
What are you talking about? You pulled a gun on me, the two of them. Help!
Now, listen, you all really give it to you.
Hear him? He's threatening me.
Oh, hey, he's gone. Matthews, why don't you help me out of this? Come on. Hey, folks, look, I'm a police inspector. Honest, I am. Matthews, quick, shoot it, Blackie! What do you think of shooting at? Hey, listen, all of you, stand back. Lay off that fella. He's a police. That's Matthews. He's police, too.
Chief. Thanks, Chief. Say, did Blackie get away?
Yeah. Matthews, you're fired.
But I was sure he was coming here, Mr. Stevens.
Miss Carew, why should Mr. Blackie come to see me at my hotel? Besides, I'm confident that by this time Inspector Faraday has made sure that the young man is no longer a free agent.
Perhaps, yes, perhaps you're right. But, well, I'm not sure the inspector is right in what he's doing.
Oh, now, Miss Carew, it's quite obvious that you have an attachment for Mr. Blackie, and if the police have taken him, I won't have to worry about the Star of the Nile any longer.
The police haven't taken me, Mr. Stevens.
Boston Blackie.
And incidentally, if I knew how much the Star of the Nile would be worth to you, I might listen to reason.
Blackie.
Hello, Miss Carew. I rather expected you'd be here, too. I wouldn't try to phone, Mr. Stevens. You really don't want the police to come up here.
Why not?
Because it would be very embarrassing for you. And besides, it would be very embarrassing if I had to use this gun.
Blackie, look.
Oh, Helen, don't. Helen, why did you knock the gun out of my hand?
Because you had me fooled for a while, but I'm finally beginning to understand you, Blackie.
All right, the two of you stand still and put your hands up high.
Oh, so you have a gun, too, Mr. Stevens. Is that to guard the emerald you stole from your own vault?
Mr. Stevens took the emerald?
Yes. Usually when people want to steal something, they just steal it. But Mr. Stevens had to do it the hard way.
But you made it much easier for me, Mr. Blackie. You see, you were in the vault, and now everybody will know that Boston Blackie stole the emerald.
There's just one thing I'd like to know, Mr. Stevens. Why does a vice president of a large firm like Goday's have to steal a piece of jewelry?
Well, there's an ugly word for it, embezzlement. I'm awfully sorry, Miss Carew. Sorry that you came here tonight because no one else can know what you two know now. I'm going to have to kill you.
Come on, Stevens. Give me that gun.
Stay where you are.
I want that gun, Stevens.
Blackie, don't.
I told you to stay where you are.
Look, you can't pull that trigger.
Get back! Get back!
Thanks, Helen, for sending the message.
Yeah, Inspector, I think Mr. Stevens will go with you now.
Stevens?
Yes, Inspector, and thanks for putting Helen on this case. We've got your man.
Come on, let's go.
No, I won't go. I can't go. I've gone long enough. I can never catch up. For years now, I've been running after myself, running away from something. I couldn't stop, but I've got to stop. You'll never get me, I tell you. I've got to stop.
Well, we got what we were looking for, but I can't say I'm very happy about it. Well, Faraday, this time I've really got to thank you.
Don't kid me, Blackie.
No, on the level. You saved my life. You know, it's the first time in 10 years that I've been scared.
Really?
Well, you know, Stevens might have pulled that trigger.
No such luck.
Oh, very funny. Yes, he'd have shot Helen and me if you hadn't knocked on the door. He had only one other way out, Faraday, and because you came in, he took that way.
Always blaming it on me, huh?
Now, look, Inspector, won't you miss me a teeny little bit?
Does a guy miss a headache?
You know, Helen, you really had me fooled. But let me give you a tip. The next time you call Madison 72772, you better be inside a telephone booth.
What?
Remember when we were out for dinner the first time?
Yeah.
Well, I went to get your coat, and as I was leaving, I heard you ask the operator for Madison 72772.
My private number.
Sure. Only a few people know that number, and I'm proud to be one of them.
So you knew I was working for the inspector?
Sure, but that didn't matter. You already had your hooks in me, and I couldn't get loose.
Well, perhaps now you'd like me to unhook you?
Oh, honey, with you, anything goes. By hook or by crook.
I suppose it's your business if you want to make a big job out of dishwashing, but I'd like to butt in just the same because I feel you don't really like to spend a lot of time at the kitchen sink, and you don't have to if you put Rinso to work for you. Those peppy Rinso suds get your dishes sparkling bright so easily that there's not much point in scraping and scouring with the lazy suds of some soaps. And Rinso's so economical, too. Just a little Rinso goes a long, long way. So better get Rinso tomorrow for dishwashing, for all the soap and water jobs around the house, and for a wash that's Rinso White and Rinso Bright. And now a glimpse at next week's adventure of Boston Blackie.
Here it goes. What a crack-up. Them plainclothes cops in that car ain't never going to interrupt another one of our hijack jobs.
Plainclothes cops? Them ain't no cops. The driver of the car that just wrapped around a telephone pole is Boston Blackie.
Friends, millions of tons of paper are needed to ship ammunition and blood plasma, so vitally necessary in the winning of this war. Do your share to see that our boys get the material they need. Save paper. The need is terribly urgent. Now, one simple way to help is to take your own shopping bag to the grocer's. Be sure to listen in at this same time next week for another exciting adventure with Boston Blackie. You can see Chester Morris as Boston Blackie on the screen at your favorite movie theater. Boston Blackie's latest Columbia picture is One Mysterious Night, soon to be released. Richard Lane appears as Inspector Faraday. Music by Charles Cornell. This is Harlow Wilcox saying good night for Boston Blackie, brought to you by the makers of Rinso, the soap that gets clothes.
And when you get Rinso tomorrow, buy some Lifebuoy, too. Use Lifebuoy in your daily bath or shower. You'll love that rich, purifying lather. You know, of 7 leading brands, Lifebuoy gives you the most soap for your money. And besides, it's the only soap especially made to stop B.O.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
But now on 7 we've the first of a cracking little 3-part series called Never the Bride. It's about a cheerful landlady in Whitby with a remarkable secret. She's called Brenda, and she began life in a Radio 4 afternoon story in 1998. Since then she's gone from strength to strength, with the story continuing in 2 successful novels. And this series is specially written for BBC Radio 7. Now, Whitby, if you've never been, is an atmospheric place, a northeast coastal town full of legend and mystery. And Brenda, it would seem, fits right in.
Never the Bride by Paul Mars. Episode 1, The Night Owls.
My name is Brenda. Welcome. Welcome to Whitby. This is where I retired to a little while ago. I wanted to live a quiet life, a simple life, running a guest house, hidden away in these higgledy-piggledy Victorian streets. I was going to join that massive throng of B&B ladies in Whitby, frying up breakfasts and making up beds. I do all of that, of course, but I also seem to get involved in curious adventures with alarming regularity. Spooky and mysterious adventures. It seems that I'm just that kind of girl. And this is just that kind of place. Swathed in sea mist, teeming with monsters. You've got to watch your step here in Whitby. Even when your feet are as big as mine. And even if you've got hands that are just a bit on the large side, and you can look after yourself in a punch-up, you have to don a kind of disguise and pretend to be just another sweet old lady in a quiet seaside town. Anyway, hush. This all began rather gently. I was having my usual morning coffee and cake with my best friend, Effie. We were sitting in our very favourite cafe over in the oldest part of town, somewhere near the 199 steps leading down from the ancient abbey. I must say, I don't see how you ever make any money out of that junk shop of yours.
Junk? That's nice.
Well, you know what I mean. Knick-knacks.
Antique collectibles, I'll have you know, Brenda.
What I mean is, you hardly ever open. Only about 2 hours a day, and you absolutely hate browsers.
It's true, I can't stand the way they just loiter about.
How do you survive?
I have my means. Anyway, money's overrated. I don't have many wants. Oh, I do. Anyway, I like to be up and doing. I like work. Well, it takes all sorts, doesn't it?
And how was that, ladies? Anything else I can get for you, is there?
No. That walnut cake was rather less moist than we're used to.
Oh, changed our supplier, didn't we? And we're not very satisfied either.
See, Brenda? Everything's slipping. Hell in a handbasket is the phrase that comes to mind.
Well, we'd know about that, wouldn't we? Excuse me. It's Effie Jacobs, isn't it?
It is. What of it?
I thought I recognised your voice. Oh, my God! You're famous. You're a celebrity.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
But you are.
Oh, my dear, I think...
Wait till I tell the others.
I don't understand me, you know. We've been coming in here for about 2 years. Why is she suddenly famous?
What? Don't you know?
Oh, she's being ridiculous, Brenda. Come on, let's go.
The Night Owl, that's why. That's why she's a celebrity now. Isn't that right, Effie?
Come along, Brenda.
Effie? What is she on about?
Oh, she's quite clearly off her rocker. She's probably on some form of recreational drug, or what's Whitby coming to?
Oh, bye then, Effie. I'll listen out for you. You'll be on again, won't you? On the Night Owls. What was that all about?
Oh, she was quite clearly mixing me up with somebody else.
She seemed very sure of herself and she knew your name.
Never mind, Brenda. It's nothing.
You've gone and got yourself involved in something, haven't you?
Now stop it, Brenda.
Oh, what is it? Some new investigation? Oh, you really love it, don't you? You're never happy unless there's something spooky you can go shoving your beaky old nose into.
Oh, I like that.
What are the Night Owls? The waitress mentioned the Night Owls twice. What are they?
Oh, nothing, Brenda. Oh, just leave it, will you? Now listen, I've got an appointment at Reenie's for a shampoo and set. I'm saying goodbye to you here.
I'll see you later, then.
Look, I'm not being secretive. It's just, well, it's not a mystery. It's not something spooky. You just don't need to know what it is, Brenda.
I see.
Bye, then.
It's a cult, isn't it?
Oh, I don't think so. Can you see Effie joining a cult?
Oh, yes, quite frankly. She comes from generations of Whitby witches. We don't know what she might be inclined to get herself into.
If it was anything important, she'd tell you about it herself, Brenda. She trusts you. You're a friend. She hasn't got many of those.
Oh, I know. You're right, Robert. You're always right. So level-headed.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, I do. Effie and I would have come a cropper a couple of times in our investigations if it hadn't been for you, Robert.
I just help out when I can. I can't let my best friend get into danger, can I?
Oh, don't you think it's strange? A young man like you, having an old woman like me for a best friend?
Not really. How old are you again? 206?
Oh, no, really, I do depend on you, lovey. And I feel like I'm going to do even more so in the coming weeks.
How's that? Oh, don't tell me. You've got a feeling in your water. Something wicked this way comes.
That's right, I do.
I've learned to trust your intuition about these things. I'll be there to help, Brenda, whatever happens.
Thanks, sweetheart. Now, more sherry?
Oh, I meant to ask, have you got any of these convention people staying at yours?
What convention?
Something Mrs. Claus is hostessing at her Christmas hotel. We're getting a spillover guest up at the Hotel Miramar. I wondered if you had any staying with you.
Any what?
It's a convention for people who dress up as things.
What kind of things?
I'm not sure.
Goodness. No, I don't think I've got any of those booked in. When is it?
This weekend. We're swarming with them up at the Miramar. I've seen some very funny sights going about in the skin-tight lycra and the masks.
Maybe that's what Effie's up to. I still had a funny wave of foreboding going right through me that Monday afternoon. I nipped down to the grocery store on the ground floor of my guest house. Owners, Lena and Raph, both very obliging and friendly, and very, very nosy. Lena would know what the Night Owls were. You mean you've never heard of them? I thought maybe a weird secret society or something. Hang on, you mean you have heard of them?
Of course. I've even been on the show.
Show?
Raph, listen to this.
Brenda hasn't even heard of the Night Owls.
Oh, where's she been?
Tell me what it is. Here, look. In the listings, local radio.
Oh, I never listened to that.
Whitby FM from 11pm till 6am every night of the week.
The Night Owls. Oh.
Are you saying you've never tuned in?
Well, I've never even heard of it. Should I have?
But everyone listens. Everyone.
We've been up all night. Every night. For the past 3 weeks.
You do both look a bit tired.
And so does Effie, doesn't she?
Oh, so do loads of people on Whitby just lately. Haven't you noticed?
Now that you mention it, yes, they do. I thought there was maybe a bug going round. Me, I tend to be impervious to stuff like that, but...
Everyone is staying up all night, listening to their trannies in bed.
Well, she means wireless radios, rather than cross-dressing friends, of course.
Oh, of course.
But what is it? What is this show?
Oh, you must listen. You must tune in.
Doesn't say much about it here, except... Oh!
Problem?
The host, Mr. Danby.
Oh, he's wonderful. He's ever so good at putting his guests at their ease.
He would be.
I think you should listen and judge for yourself.
I will. And while I'm here, I'll have a box of spicy tea, please. The name of Mr. Danby didn't inspire much confidence, not after our last run-in. That dapper, evil little charlatan with his shiny comb-over and his twinkly eyes, that insinuating purr of his. That night, Effie and I went for a fish supper at our favourite restaurant, the very modestly priced Cod Almighty, bang on the harbour front.
I never mentioned it simply because I didn't think it seemed important, that's all.
I think I'll have whitebait.
Oh, you always have whitebait. I don't know why you even bother reading the menu.
Followed by a creme de menthe Knickerbocker Glory. You're a bit tetchy this evening. Behind on your sleep.
As it happens, I am.
I never thought you'd be taken in by a fad like this.
A fad?
That's what it is, isn't it?
It's a very interesting show. People talk about all kinds of things. There's no set agenda. The DJ gets them saying all sorts of fascinating nonsense. Secrets. Surprising things.
Does he now?
Oh, you'll just have to listen in.
But Effie, Mr. Danby... Didn't that ring any alarm bells for you?
Well, maybe at first. Oh, but he's all right, really. He's very good at what he does on that show.
What about when he opened that beauty parlour last autumn, the Deadly Boutique, just round the corner from here? What about that? Promising to take decades off the ages of all those foolish, gullible women who flocked there to have him experiment on them.
I know. I was one of those foolish women.
Well, he was up to no good, wasn't he?
He's changed his ways, I'm sure of it.
Look what he did to poor Jessie. He virtually sucked the life out of her, stole all her liquid essence, turned her into something from the dawn of time. That's where all of poor Jessie's problems began, wasn't it?
What harm can he do? Simply hosting a phone-in show.
Oh, I can't believe I'm hearing this.
It's only a phone-in, it's only a bit of fun. Now, shush up. Here comes the waitress to take our order.
But I knew she was wrong. It wasn't just a bit of fun. I knew there was something more to this. So, that night, tired and replete and our heads swimming with vinegary fumes and creme de menthe, we crossed back over the harbour bridge and wound our way through the streets to home, waving goodbye outside of Effie's tatty junk shop. I let myself into my own place and was quiet as could be, going up the side staircase, thinking that some of my current guests might already be abed. Mr. Timperley, for instance, booked into room number 3 for a full week. He was rather old and fragile-looking. He didn't want to hear his landlady galumphing about after a night on the town. Anyway, back in my gorgeous, sumptuous attic rooms, I soon made myself comfortable with a pot of spicy tea and a little fire going. Then I had a fiddle with my battered old radio, tuning it into the local station.
You're listening to the Night
And then I got him.
Here on
It was 11:20, and his show had already begun. I sat back in my bubbly green armchair to listen, cradling my mug of tea.
As ever, my friends, I have no idea what it is we will be talking about between now and the early hours. We have midnight and all the dark hours before dawn to go through first. Don't you just love that thought, that we will be here together all that time, and we can talk about anything we like, anything that occurs to us? Let us hope there will be some surprises come our way before morning breaks over the North Sea.
Oh, he's so slimy. I wouldn't stay up listening to him going on and on.
And now let's have our next caller.
Gloria's waving to me from the control room. On line 2. Here we are. Good evening. Sheila, is it?
That's right, Mr. Danby. I'm a first-timer on the Night Owls tonight. I've never phoned in before, but I've listened for weeks, every night. I think it's a fantastic show. I love your way of talking to people.
Oh, I just give them a little respect and listen to their woes and all their funny little stories, Sheila. It's surprising how grateful people can be. We're so used to being neglected and unheard, aren't we? Someone listening, just listening at the other end. Well, that can be a wonderful thing, can't it?
Oh, it can indeed, Mr. Danby. You're absolutely right.
And what is it you'd like to talk about this evening, Sheila?
Oh, well, I'm quite nervous, actually. I've never,
Oh, just you take your time, my dear.
Oh, all right. It's like this. I own a hotel in a rather select part of Whitby. It caters for a younger and perhaps slightly racier crowd than do some of the old people-type hotels out on the seafront. We have a nightclub in our basement and barbecues in the beer garden and all manner of exciting attractions.
Sounds like an advert, Sheila.
Oh, that's not what I meant. What I'm really calling about is another hotel. The Christmas Hotel, right on the Royal Crescent on the cliffs overlooking the harbour. That's one of these supposedly respectable places, crowded with old-age pensioners.
I know it very well. When she was in better health, my poor old mother used to go there for a Christmas knees-up.
Yeah, because it's Christmas every day at the Christmas Hotel. Yes, I know. And it's run by that terrible harridan Mrs. Claus, her with her ruddy cheeks and broken veins and getting pushed around in a bath chair by a staff of willing boys all dressed as elves. Well, what I've got to tell you all tonight is that she is pure evil. Do you know what she puts in the meat pies on pie and pea supper nights?
You do realise that what you're saying might be defamatory, don't you, Sheila?
Of course I do.
Oh, good. Carry on, then.
Dead human bodies.
Oh, dear.
She has people murdered. Even some of her own elves who escaped from her control. She butchers them and serves them in her pies to her ancient guests.
Oh, that's very interesting. And she's your biggest rival, would you say, as a hotelier?
That's not why I'm making this public. I'm saying it because she needs to be stopped. She has a stranglehold on the media here in Whitby. You may know she owns the local paper, The Willing Spirit, plus the entertainment supplement, The Flesh is Weak. She even seems to have the police force on her side and in her pocket. I thought your show would be a good way of letting the whole town know
That she's evil? Well, you've certainly managed to alert the old town to your views on the impressive Mrs. Claus, but don't you fear for your safety, Sheila?
Ooh, why, no. What can she do to me?
I imagine she could do quite a lot. Now then, Whitby, let's keep those calls
And
coming
so
in.
it went on. With a curious candidness and a worrying lack of discretion, Mr. Danby's callers went murmuring and railing through the night. What could make them talk like this?
Hello, Mr. Danby?
You're through, caller.
Robert,
Carry on.
what's he doing calling in? Oh, help, everyone's at it now.
I'd just like to say that what Sheila Manchu was saying earlier this evening before midnight, well, it's all true. Before I worked at Sheila's hotel, I was an elf at the Christmas Hotel, and Mrs. Claus had us drugged, all us elves. We were her slaves because she used to pop noxious substances in our cocoa. I was lucky to get away from that hideously festive place when I did.
Well, this is very interesting, Robert. And do you also back up Sheila Manchu's wild claims of real human flesh in the meat pies?
Oh, yes, indeed. We went investigating there, me and my friends Brenda and Effie, at the end of last year when my Aunt Jessie went missing.
Investigating with your friends Brenda and Effie, you say? Would that be Effie Jacobs by any chance? The delectable Ephrygia who has become such a stalwart of this very same humble show?
That's her, though she's more Brenda's friend than she is mine. Effie can be downright sniffy about people, and she looks right down a pointy old nose at me, as it happens, but I don't care. She's an old witch, you know.
Oh, come, Robert.
No, I mean it. She's got a house stuffed with ancient grimoires and stuff. All the family were witches, going way back.
Oh, really?
But my real friend, of course, is Brenda.
Yes, Effie herself has mentioned this mutual friend once or twice on this show. What is it about this Brenda, Robert? What's the lowdown on her? Come along, Robert. All of Whitby is waiting. Go on. Tell us all what it is about Brenda that's so amazing, so fascinating. Tell us her secrets.
Brenda's secrets? No, I can't.
Oh, you can. We're all friends here.
I won't. I must go now.
Good old Robert. Thank Hecate he'd managed to come to his senses. But what had happened to him? Had Mr. Danby managed to hypnotise him over the phone lines? Is that what was happening to everyone who rang in? But what for? What was it all for? Quick as a flash. First thing in the morning, I'm up and doing my exercises. Star jumps and jogging on the spot. Probably puts the fear of God into poor old Mr. Timperley, whose room is beneath my attic. But I have to be up and doing. I've got business to attend to.
Effie? What is it, Brenda?
I listened to that programme last night.
What? The Night Owls?
Of course, the Night Owls. And I was appalled. Oh, look, can I come in, Effie? It's freezing out here. That Mr. Danby's got everyone under his spell. Even Robert. Did you hear him last night? He was talking away like the rest of them.
Oh, so, I mean, that's what people do on the Night Owls. That's what it's for. Getting things off your chest.
Well, I thought it was horrible. Dangerous, too.
Oh, you would feel like that. Oh, did you listen all through the night?
I dropped off around 3, but I heard enough.
Oh, so you never heard me?
When were you on?
Around 5:30. Mr. Danby feels bereft if I don't make my appearance on his show, so I don't like to disappoint him.
It's Mr. Danby. He's bound to be up to no good.
I think you misunderstood him, Brenda. When he started up the Deadly Boutique, it was with the aim of bringing joy into the lives of the women of Whitby.
And it all went to the bad. Now, never forget that, Effie.
Oh, you won't let me, will you? You always look on the darkest possible side of things, Brenda.
I do not.
Poking into shadows, thinking the worst of people. Not everyone's got ulterior motives, you know. Not everyone is in league with the devil.
I know that.
Yeah, what is it, Brenda? Your own shrouded, miserable Gothic past? Is that what makes you suspect the very worst about everyone?
I left it at that. And I stomped up our sloping street fuming. Absolutely livid, wondering why it is that Effie and I can't get embroiled in an adventure without having a massive stand-up row. It happens every time. Anyway, it was unfair of her to bring up my past like that. She's privy to very secret, very tender and distressing facts about my past. Hardly anyone else knows the truth. I was starting to dread the thought that she might get on the radio and broadcast the whole lot. I could imagine my closely guarded secrets being spread out like a seeping mantle of mist across the Whitby rooftops in the middle of the night. Everyone listening, aghast, appalled as Effie blew my cover, disinterring the true tale of my nature, my terrible supernature. I popped into Woolies for a big bag of pick and mix. Just the thing to cheer me up. Never fails. I crunched minty bonbons and strawberry fizzes and hunks of cinder toffee as I yomped up the hill to the Hotel Miramar, where Robert was off duty for the morning.
I really don't know what came over me.
I was a bit surprised, to say the least.
But I was compelled. I was in bed, in my room, and I just had to phone in.
At least you jolted out of it when he got too nosy. But what's he trying to do? What's to gain from everyone spilling their secrets over the airwaves?
There are a lot of secrets in this town. We've all got them, haven't we?
Of course.
What do you want to do?
Find Mr. Danby, beard him, in his den.
You want to go to the Whitby FM studios? We could get to him there.
Oh, shame we don't know where he lives. He's a slippery customer. Last time we met, he was doing everything he could to keep his mother alive, using other people's liquid essence. She was a tiny, wizened-up old thing, a tiny nun, who he carried around in a suitcase like an old vampire. Let's go tonight. You're not working, are you?
Luckily, no. It's been a bit hectic here with the spillover from the vintage costumed hero ball.
Of course, that's what all these people in colourful lycra are about. I wondered.
Quite interesting lives, some of them. See her over by herself at that bar? That's Mrs. Midnight. In the 60s, she single-handedly rescued the men on the first failed British Mars expedition. She's got superpowered lung capacity or something.
Yes, I remember. Oh, hasn't she let herself go? She shouldn't have tried to fit herself back into her old cosy. Well, she's drinking quite heavily, by the looks of it.
That's the point. The old cozies. The convention this weekend is the only time and place these oldsters get to wear their old superhero outfits.
Who's she with? Who's this coming?
That's Harry the Cat from Salford. He was big in the 50s.
He's definitely shrunk.
Lime green lycra's not a good look even on the young and pretty. What does he look like? Well, at least Mrs. Midnight seems glad to see him.
Well, I'll tell you who he does look like. My guest in room number 3. It is Mr. Timperley in thigh-high boots and little cat ears. My goodness, Mr. Timperley!
Shh, Brenda!
Oh, he seemed such a quiet soul. And all the time, he was Harry the Cat, scourge of the Salford gang.
That's how it is with secret identities, Brenda.
Well, I'm amazed. Oh, anyway, thanks for the G&T, lovey. I'd best get back, have a tidy round and prepare myself for this evening's rigours.
You do that.
A whole town full of ancient superheroes. And I thought Goth Weekend was weird. Ta-ra! Back at my place, I was just getting myself ready when suddenly...
Brenda, I've come to apologise.
Oh, you have you?
The way I went on at you before, it was unforgivable.
Isn't it a bit late for you to be out? Shouldn't you be at home, listening to your tranny?
I don't care about that. You're right. I was addicted. I was saying things I shouldn't, behaving appallingly.
Well, never mind.
Hey, how come you're all tugged up? Where are you off to, the slate?
You can always tell, can't you, when there's some investigating going on.
What? You're going off alone? Without me?
Oh, not quite alone. I'm meeting Robert. Now, I didn't think you'd want to be involved in this affair. We're going to the studios of Whitby FM. I'm going to have a word with this precious talk DJ of yours.
You're going to see him?
Well, you needn't sound so alarmed. He's just a man. Just an ordinary person.
Oh, I'm coming with you. You're not leaving me out of this.
Evening, Brenda.
Hello.
Effie.
Good evening, young man. I see you've managed to involve yourself in our business yet again.
Whatever, Effie.
Will someone please tell me what all these funny-looking people are? I mean, I've seen some atrocious sights wandering the town this evening.
They're retired superpowered heroes, Effie.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Some kind of do at the Christmas Hotel.
There'll be more to it if Mrs. Claus is behind it.
Quite.
It turns out Mr. Timperley, who's staying at mine for the week, he's one.
Heavens protect us. This town gets stranger by the week.
Where are the studios, then? Robert, you said you knew.
Well, not far, on the harbour front. The redeveloped bit with the luxury apartments. Come on.
Up the swanky end of town, eh?
Where else?
Looks like a pretty ordinary office building to me.
What do you expect it to look like?
No one's about. Hello? Can we come in?
Yes, hello?
We'd like to come in, please. We've got an appointment with Mr. Danby.
This'll never work.
He's on the air. You can't see him now.
We've gone about this all the wrong way. But we must see him. I demand to come in.
Go on, Brenda, you tell him.
Will you open these doors, or do I have to get my shoulder behind them?
Luke, who is this?
My name's Brenda Buster, and my dander's right up.
Here we go.
I'll buzz you in.
Just letting us in. Here goes. Seems the direct approach pays off.
Looks pretty dark inside, but I can't see well.
And you watch what you shove your man. Keep still, don't move. I don't like this. Neither do I.
Do you think it's a trap?
Yes, I do.
We're shut inside.
Oh, help! Oh, no! Oh,
Keep calm, ladies. Let's not get in the flap yet. Let's...
What's that?
What?
Gas.
Oh,
It's gas.
no! They can't! Let us out!
Oh, Brenda, I do feel a bit funny.
Effie!
Brenda, I don't feel well.
Oh, where are you, Danby? You can't do this to us! You
In episode 1 of Never the Bride, Brenda was played by Joanna Tope, Effie, Monica Gibb, Robert, John Paul Hurley, Mr. Danby, Sean Scanlon, Sheila Manchu, Gayanne Potter, and Mrs. Claus, Eileen McCallum. Other parts were played by members of the cast. Never the Bride was written by Paul Mars. The producer was David Jackson Young.
The Russia House.
Where are we going, please?
Just across the courtyard. I want to call on someone before we go to dinner.
This is a friend?
Yeah, painter. Jazz nut like me. Got a studio on the top floor.
Ah.
He's away for a few days. I thought it would be somewhere we could talk. In here. Oh, damn.
In Russia, nothing works unless you kick it.
Oh, right. After you.
Thank you. It is quite dark in here.
Just a minute, I've got a torch here. Ah. There should be a lift along the corridor somewhere. Ah, yes. On the right. Come on.
Where are the lights?
I don't want lights. There's a sort of skylight over there. It opens onto a flat roof. We'll go out there. Take my hand.
Thank you.
Feel like a cinema usherette. Through here. We've got to climb through here. Here. Give me a hand.
Thank you.
There. It's safer outside. We have a saying in English. Walls have ears.
In Russian also.
Ah.
У стен есть уши.
We'll talk for a while. Then I take you to dinner, okay?
Yes.
If anyone asks, the studio belongs to a friend of mine.
A jazz nut?
Spot on. We came to look at his pictures, but he didn't show, so I took you to dinner and we talked literature and world peace. And despite my disgusting reputation, I did not make a pass at you. I was too much in awe of your beauty. How's that?
It will be convenient.
Do you drink this stuff?
No.
Me neither. Cheers. Well now, about that manuscript you sent me. Who's its author?
It is not important.
I think I know him as Goethe. What's his real name? Well, where does he work? What's his unit, or is it a ministry, a laboratory?
He works in many places. Sometimes he has been in the sun, sometimes in the extreme cold.
So what is he? A boss, a controller, supervisor?
I do not know.
How did you meet him? Why can't you tell me? Why did you send me the book if you don't trust me?
It was for him that I sent it. I did not select you. He did.
So why do you think I'm here? Look, Katya, it's me, Barley Blair. You have to trust me.
His name and occupation are not important. He's my friend.
Is that the only reason you smuggled his manuscript to the West?
It was necessary.
Did he tell you what his manuscript was about?
Of course. He would not endanger me without my consent.
So what do you think was in it?
The manuscript describes my country's involvement in the preparation of anti-humanitarian weapons of mass destruction. It paints a picture of corruption, incompetence and criminal mismanagement in every field of the defense industry. Also many ethical shortcomings.
That's quite a mouthful.
Yes.
But you approve, do you, of passing stuff like that to the West?
Not only the West. His gesture will ensure true openness among scientists of all nations.
So he's a scientist?
Yes.
A physicist?
He was trained as a physicist. I believe he is also qualified in certain aspects of engineering.
He must be damned clever.
He is extremely brilliant. When he was only 14, he won a mathematics Olympiad.
And then what? University?
University, yes. And then he went to Novosibirsk to study at the scientific city of Akademgorodok. He was made candidate of sciences, doctor of sciences. He was made everything.
When I was at school, those were the people I hated.
But you cannot hate Goethe. You inspired him. He often quotes his friend Barley Blair. If there is hope, we must all betray our countries. Did you really say that?
Probably. So when did you get mixed up with him?
I was a great intellectual of 16. I was in my last year at school, a star pupil, and a revolutionary of the most romantic kind.
And how old was the prodigy?
30. My father introduced him to me as a new genius from the world of physics.
Oh?
My father was professor of humanities at the university. He was always a little bit sarcastic about younger men.
I know how he felt.
I fell completely in love with him. You find that shocking? A girl of 16 with an experienced man of 30?
On the whole, I'd say they were both lucky.
Yakov was my first lover.
Yakov.
He was extremely delicate, but also quite passionate.
Yes. Well, I only hope Yakov understands what the consequences of publishing his manuscript might be.
He says that there are times when our actions must come first. We should consider consequences only when they occur.
And what about you? Has Yakov considered the consequences for you?
He's reconciled.
Are you?
Naturally. It was my decision also. Why else would I support him?
And your children? What about them?
What we do is for them and their generation.
And what about the consequences to Mother Russia?
You will do best to ask him all further questions yourself.
How?
He wishes to meet you in Leningrad on Friday.
Leningrad.
He is attending an important conference at one of the military scientific institutions.
On Friday.
He has proposed 3 places and 3 times. You will please keep each appointment until he is successful.
And he'll keep one of them if he can.
Yes. He sends you his greetings and his thanks.
Yes.
He loves you, Barley Blair.
Well, now we've had a chance to hear the Moscow tapes of Barley's various conversations with Katya.
That's everything, is it, Ned?
Yes, the lot. The first meeting in the hotel buffet, the safe house, the restaurant.
All good, clean takes.
We're going to need traces on some of the new facts they've thrown up, and I'm going to need them as soon as possible.
It might save time if we split them between us.
Couldn't agree more, Walter. Let's start with the man Barley calls Goethe. Christian name is Yakov, patronymic Yefremovich.
Surname?
We don't know, Bob, but it shouldn't be difficult to find. He's a physicist, presumably of some eminence. Age around 50, give or take a year.
I'll take that, shall I?
OK, Brock.
Wasn't there something about Goethe's father dying of an overdose of intelligence?
That's right.
That was when they were in the restaurant, Ned.
Oh, hang on a minute. The restaurant, you say? Ah. Oh, come in, Harry.
Thank you. Clive has sent you 2 visitors.
Oh, yes. Please, take a seat, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Over here, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
We're just allocating traces on Goethe. Want to play, Harry?
No, thanks. I prefer spectator sports these days.
Do we go on, Ned?
Well, why not? Oh, I see. No, it's all right, Walter. Our visitors are from Langley. That's right, isn't it?
Correct, sir.
They're both cleared, Ned.
Thank you. Now, here we are. Goethe's father's name was Ephraim. Soviet scientist, other names unknown. Executed at Vorkuta after an uprising in the spring of 52. Fancy that, Walter?
Love it. Can't be too many scientific Ephraims who die of an overdose of intelligence, even in Stalin's day.
Thank you. Now, Katya's father.
I'll take that if you like, Ned.
Okay, Boris, patronymic not known, surname ditto, professor of humanities, Leningrad University in the late 60s.
Got it. Widower, one daughter, Yekaterina.
That's it. Which just leaves the business about the mathematics Olympiad.
And all the other alleged qualifications.
Perhaps I'll give that one back to registry.
No, I'll take it.
You've got enough on your plate, Walter.
No, nonsense, dear. I can handle that, no problem.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's it then. Well, thanks, everybody. Don't forget, Barley meets Goethe in Leningrad on Friday. I'd like to get all this squared away well before then.
Absolutely.
Can I have a word, Harry?
Of course.
Who are those two Americans?
Don't you know?
Clive told me they were coming. He didn't tell me why.
Well, from the way they talked, they could be from security.
Oh, no. That means Clive really has sold out to Langley.
Well, not necessarily.
Come on, Harry.
A Bluebird is scheduled as a joint operation.
But it's our Joe who's out there, for God's sake. Not to mention a defector in place we've never even met.
Yes.
And yet Clive's happy to sit in his ivory tower and play politics with people's lives. And he'll expect a cave for it when it all goes wrong. Don't quote me, but the trouble with Clive is that he considers nothing on its merits, only who is for and who is against. Then he considers who would make the better ally.
It's the smart route to the top, isn't it?
Maybe.
Where are we going?
To the country. Breath of fresh air will do you good.
Where in the country, Ned?
Berkshire, one of the MOD's research stations.
I see.
We're going to play Pelmanism with one of the scientists there.
Oh.
One Professor William Wintle. It's a name Walter pulled out of the hat. He's one of the only group of Western scientists ever to visit Akademgorodok.
Does he know who we are?
I should think he's probably guessed. I had to set it up through O'Mara, the security officer, who is not the most diplomatic of men.
To tell you the truth, gentlemen, Wintle's a bit of an oddball. He's done socialism, he's done Jesus, now he's into contemplation and Tai Chi.
Is he married?
Thank God.
How much have you told him?
About you chaps?
Yes.
They always think they're under suspicion. I've told him he isn't. And I've told him to keep his stupid mouth shut when it's over.
And will he, do you think?
Most of them don't know how to. This'll be him. Come! Come in, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor Wintle, gentlemen.
Hello.
How do you do?
Do sit down, Professor.
Thank you. You're from intelligence, I presume?
None of your business where they're from. They're on our side and they've got a job to do, same as you.
All right, tomorrow.
Professor, we're in the business of tracking Soviet scientists. Nothing very sexy, I'm afraid.
Thought as much.
We're trying to maximize some of our neglected old material. Now, this is an account of your debriefing on your visit to Akademgorodok. You mentioned the names of 2 or 3 Soviet scientists we'd like to catch up on, if they're still around.
As I recall, that debriefing was given under an assurance of total confidentiality. I'm surprised that it's still lying around in open ministerial archives 25 years after the event.
It's the nearest you'll get to immortality, sport, so I should shut up and enjoy it.
The debriefing is still a confidential document, Professor, but some of the names you mentioned in it are not.
We rather hoped you could flesh out 1 or 2 of them for us.
I see. Who in particular?
Protopopov, engineer specializing in fuels.
I don't recall anyone of that name. No.
Okay, then, let's try Savelyev.
Come again?
Savelyev. Yes, that's right, Savelyev. Ring any bells?
None at all.
No? You described him as young, idealistic, talkative, calling himself a humanitarian, working on particles.
Oh, him! What did you say his name was?
Savelyev.
Well, I'm blowed. I'd quite forgotten. To me, he's still Yakov.
Fine. Savelyev, Yakov. Anything else?
Very intense, I remember. but sensitive. Wouldn't dare ask his questions in the plenum. Hung back and plucked at your sleeve when it was all over. Good questions, though. A good, keen mind. Very sound.
Anything else?
Give me a going-away present.
Oh?
Chunk of rock, about so big.
Rock? What sort of rock?
Yeah, a geological specimen, wrapped in newspaper. Still got it at home somewhere.
Did it have any special significance, this rock?
It was a piece of his country, he said. He wanted me always to love the good in it, no matter how bad it might sometimes seem from the outside.
Did he ever write to you?
Oh, how would I know? You never know what's been stopped in the post, do you?
Yes, well, I've just got a couple more names here. You'll maybe...
Well, get what you wanted, did you?
Useful background.
Saveliev you're interested in, is it?
Let's be on our way, Harry.
What's he up to then? Selling the shop?
Have you signed the Official Secrets Act, O'Mara?
Practically wrote the bloody thing.
Then you'll know that all knowledge that comes to you officially is in the perpetual property of the Crown.
Well, in general.
If you value your job and your pension, Mr. O'Mara, I suggest you erase this meeting from your memory and any name associated with it.
So, now, finally we have something approaching a complete picture. Yakov Yefremovich Saveliev, also known as Goethe. A 50-year-old achiever shaking his midlife bars, contemplating mortality and a wasted life. Well, aren't we all? Cheers, everybody.
Well, come in, Harry.
Yes, come and have a drink.
What are we all celebrating?
Barney Blair, 70 off. Who the hell cares? We're getting there. Here you are.
Oh, thanks. Oh, God bless.
Okay, so let's look at the picture piece by piece. Mathematics Olympiad.
Walter's putting the pieces of the Goethe jigsaw together for us.
He really is the vintage year, isn't he? Any younger, he'd have been brainwashed. Any older, he'd be looking for an old fart sinecure. Father executed. Even after they killed his father, the poor lamb tried so hard to be good. And then, one day, bingo! He wakes up to the fact that he's wasted his genius on a load of incompetent gangsters. Him and me both. Testing site 109, Kazakhstan.
What's wrong with Walter? Is he drunk?
Nervous.
Now, where will the rockets land? How close will how many get to how many targets, and how quickly? Crucial questions. And dear Yakov, Aka Goethe knows all the answers, doesn't he? He knows because he is the little genius who devised the encryption which defeats the American super listeners in Turkey and Alaska.
This is the nub, Harry. This is what it's all about.
He sees all the answers in clear before his boss, Academician Ragov, fudges them for his lords and masters in Moscow. Vitaly Ragov is an arse-licking toady, Goethe tells us in Notebook 2. An arse-licking toady meeting his norms and earning his medals and privileges. Who does that remind us of, I wonder? It can't be anyone we know. Certainly not our own dear Clive, whom God preserve.
What on earth's going
So,
to him?
now we come to Ekaterina Borisovna Orlova, also known as Katya. So, Goethe blows his lid. He confesses his agony to Katya, his one-time lover and long-time best friend. And what does the lovely Katya say? She says, don't just whimper, do something. And by golly, he does. He gives us every bloody thing he can lay his hands on. The lot. The unbuggered head-on truth before it gets repainted for Moscow consumption. All right, he's potty, out of his tree. But who isn't who's any good? Ah, to hell with it. To hell with the lot of you.
Walter!
I'm sick of it.
For God's sake.
Oh, life's a bitch, Harry. And you're all welcome to it.
What's happening, Ned? What the hell's gone wrong?
That was Walter's valediction, I'm afraid.
What for goodness sake?
Okay, everyone, let's take a break.
Well?
Clive's Americans considered Walter too volatile.
I guess that's why Langley sent those two spooks to clean the stables.
Can they do that, Ned? Don't you have any say in the matter?
I wasn't consulted.
Oh.
Well, anyway, Harry, we better start your full indoctrination into Operation Bluebird.
Mine? Why me?
Because our people won't sanction a newcomer at this stage in the game.
Sorry, Harry, we need one more body, and you're elected.
Oh, if you say so.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you.
I think you're already fairly well abreast of the situation so far, at least as we see it from here.
Yes, but what's the current state of play with Barley? What's happening in Moscow?
Well, if everything's going to plan, he should be at the British Embassy just about now.
Oh.
They're briefing him about the Leningrad meeting with Goethe.
I always understood your cultural people were over in the other building.
Oh, no, that's commercial. They're quite different. In here.
Thanks.
Hello, Mr. Blair. How very nice to meet you.
Hello.
I'll leave you to it, then.
Yes, thanks.
This is a damned awful place. What is it, a nuclear shelter?
As good as. It's called a secure room. Secure against eavesdroppers, that is.
And nuclear fallout, if it comes to that.
This is Cy. He's American.
Hi, Barley.
Hi.
And I'm Paddy. By the way, Ned sends his very special greetings. So does Clive.
Nice of them.
They told me to ask you whether you want to go on with this caper.
Oh?
If you want to bail out at this point, Barley, that's your good right. No hard feelings.
Do you want to bail out?
I've come this far. I have to talk to him. I have to.
Talk to who?
Goethe.
We want that too.
But there'll be no damned lies. I won't lie to him.
No one wants you to.
Okay, then.
We'd like you to give him this.
Crime and punishment. Supposing he's ready.
There are some highly pertinent questions bound up in the text, Barley. Also a contact number in Moscow and an address in Finland if he wants to send anything.
Happy about that, Barley?
I don't know if he'll be.
You can only try.
Yeah.
Good. Let's see if we can lay on Leningrad for you.
Zapatny is going to kill me.
Yeah, why's that?
He thinks I'm his guest. He's footing the bill, fixing my program. I can't just up sticks. Bye-bye, Attic, old dear. I'm off to Leningrad. It's not on, old boy.
Potomac Boston Incorporated, Barley, your new trading partner. The head of their publishing operation is a Mr. Henziger. Is that right?
JP.
Ever met him?
Spoken to him a couple of times on the phone.
J.P. Henziger is family, Barley. A fine officer. So's his wife.
I see.
So, we have a possible scenario for you. Mr. J.P. Henziger of Potomac Boston, tough, pushy, typical American tycoon, is presently on holiday in Europe with his wife.
They're at this moment at the Marsky Hotel in Helsinki. You know the Marsky?
I've had a drink there.
And now, in that impulsive American way, they've taken it in their heads to take a lightning trip to Leningrad. Okay so far?
Okay.
They'll be taking a 3-day guided tour, visas at the Finnish border, the guide, the bus, one all-in package.
So where do I come in?
Henziger has money invested in you, and knowing that you're in Moscow spending it, he requires you to drop everything, hurry to Leningrad, carry his bags for him, and report progress.
Zapatny would understand that, wouldn't he?
Yes.
You see a problem? Some way it doesn't play?
No. It plays. I can make it work if you can.
Right. 1 hour from now, Henziger telexes you, care of Zapatny at the VAAP. Copy here to the British Embassy, requesting you to meet with him this Friday at the Hotel Yevropeyskaya in Leningrad, which is where his tour group is staying.
Zapatny will wriggle, maybe scream a bit, but since it's Henziger's money you're spending, well, what can you do?
Hang on a minute. If the Henzigers are on one of those official guided tours, they won't be let off the leash. They'll be locked into a bloody bus all day.
Barley, on arrival at the hotel, Mrs. Henziger will contract a severe dose of Leningrad tummy.
And, of course, JP won't leave her side.
That figure, Barley?
It figures.
Good.
Да, слушаю.
That you, Katya?
Hello, Barley.
Oh, you got home all right. Train didn't turn into a pumpkin or anything.
Thank you. It was not a problem.
Yes, well, I just rang to thank you for a marvellous evening.
Thank you also. It was most productive.
I had hoped we'd have another chance to meet, but I've got to go to Leningrad.
Oh.
Some stupid bit of business has cropped up. Had to rearrange my entire schedule.
Will you be returning to Moscow?
Doubt it. Not this trip. Is there anything I can bring you?
Please.
Next time I come to Moscow, an electric toothbrush, paper curlers, more Jane Austen.
I wish you a good journey, Barley. До свидания.
Now, Alec Zapatny, VAAP.
You at home?
Come in, Len.
Got the tickets?
Well done.
Night sleeper leaves a few minutes before midnight.
617.
Barley! Barley!
Please, what is this nonsense about Leningrad?
Alec, I was just about to ring you.
Is it so important you must go?
Afraid so, Alec. I'm leaving tonight.
Oh, but we have arranged a great party for you, Barley. It has all the makings of a most disreputable evening.
Oh, don't tempt me.
Cannot even the delicious Katya persuade you to stay?
Who's Katya?
This is Moscow, Barley. The intelligentsia is small and local telephone calls are free.
So?
So you cannot dine with Katya Orlova in an intimate and, I should say, rather crazy restaurant without at least 15 of us knowing about it the next morning.
It was strictly business, Alec.
Then why was not Mr. Wicklow also with you?
He's much too young.
You see, you should always stay here with your friends.
I wish I could, Alec. I'd much prefer to.
You go tonight, you said?
Mm-hmm. On the night sleeper. Young Wicklow's just bought the tickets.
Then please have a good journey, Barley Blair. And come back to us very soon.
Dear Alec is sounding more and more like the KGB.
Are you surprised?
Oh, Lord.
What a journey. I could do with a good night's sleep.
I could do with a drink.
What about our hip flask?
Empty.
We'll have to wait till we get to the hotel.
Come on, there's got to be a bar around here somewhere.
Who is it?
Blair and Wicklow.
The door's open.
Mr. Henziger, sir?
Come in, come in. You must be Wicklow.
Yes, sir, and this is Barley Blair.
Hello.
Barley. Good to meet you at last. I've been so looking forward to this moment.
Me too, JP. How do you do?
How do you do, sir? Did you have a good trip?
It was an experience.
I was sorry to hear about your wife, sir. How is she?
Exhausted, but sleeping peacefully now, thank God. Could be she'll be well enough to join us for dinner.
We look forward to it.
Can you keep yourselves amused until then?
Of course. There are one or two places here in Leningrad we'd like to go and see.
I have a street map of the city here somewhere, if that would be of help.
Oh, I'm sure it would.
We're just so disappointed we have to give the town a miss this time round.
Okay, Barley.
Nervous.
You got the book?
Crime and Punishment. It's in the bag with the street map.
Tape recorder on?
What do you think?
Talk to it occasionally. Help them retrace your route back in the Russia house.
Harness is bloody uncomfortable.
You'll get used to it. Right, you better get going. You've got half an hour to get to Yelyabova Street. Know how to get there?
I can read a map.
And remember, you wait 10 minutes only. 5 minutes before the appointed time, 5 minutes after. Then abort and make the next rendezvous.
I'm still in Yelyabova Street. Window shopping, if you can call it that. I'm checking my street map. Standing in the entrance to the big department store here. Don't like it here. Far too public.
Oh, you're lost, sir.
I'm always lost, old boy, thank you.
You want to tell me something? Cigarettes? Scotch? Fountain pen?
Not really.
You want to trade drugs, currency, something like this?
I'm fine just as I am. Now be a pal and piss off.
Иностранцы. Приезжайте думать, что они здесь хозяева.
Time's up. Aborting. One down. Next stop, Smolny. In the park. No sign yet of Goethe. I'm studying my map. Sweating so much it'll probably short-circuit this bloody contraption. Serve you right if it does. Hang on. I think I've spotted him. Yes, it's him. Sitting on a bench. Exactly as advertised. I'll walk past him, studying my map, not looking at him. Let him make the first move.
Sir? Excuse me, sir.
I think we're acquainted.
Are we? I think you are Mr. Blair, the distinguished publisher from England.
Well, I'm damned. It's Goethe, isn't it? How are you, old boy?
I'm very well, thank you.
We met at that disgraceful literary party at... where was it now?
Peredelkina.
That's right.
Welcome to Leningrad, Mr. Barley.
Thank you. Small world, isn't it?
Perhaps we can walk a little, exchange ideas for a few minutes. It's safest to keep moving.
Okay. Why not?
If we could walk for half an hour, we'd see the battleship Aurora, which fired the blank shot to launch the revolution.
Really?
Oh, maybe the next revolution should start with some of that jazz you play so beautifully. Yes, you'll announce the next revolution by playing Lester Young on the saxophone.
Oh, steady on.
You've read my work, the manuscript I sent you.
What I could understand of it.
What do you think?
It's brave.
No more than that?
All right. It's sensational.
We recognized each other that night at Biljolkina.
Kindred spirits, you mean?
We have a famous saying in Russia. One fisherman always sees another from afar. You and I, Barley, we're fishermen. We shall feed the thousands with our truth.
Thanks very much for joining us this evening. We'll be back again next week, 8 September 2024. We broadcast from 8 to 11 p.m. Central Time. Please come and join us. Until then, sleep tight. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.